You have 1 penny. That's it. And tonight you're going to use it to sit on a wooden bench in a room with 60 unwashed strangers. You won't be allowed to sleep. If your eyes close, someone shakes you awake. This is called a penny sit-up. It's one of 3 homeless shelters in Victorian London. The other 2, a 2-penny hangover and a 4-penny coffin. Those names aren't metaphors. They're exactly what they sound like. Quick thing. If this helps you sleep, hit subscribe. Also, drop your city in the comments. I'm always curious where people are listening from. All right, get comfortable. You're going to appreciate that bed tonight. London, 1887. You're standing on a street corner in the East End and the fog is so thick you can barely see your own hand in front of your face. Not regular fog. This is different. It's yellow, brownish. It tastes like metal and coal smoke, and it sticks to the back of your throat like something alive. The locals call it a pea super, which sounds almost cute until you realise it's killing people. Literally. The smoke from 1,000,000 coal fires has mixed with the damp river air to create something that burns your lungs with every breath. Your name doesn't matter anymore. A month ago, you had one. You had a job at a textile factory in Manchester. You had a small room you rented above a tailor's shop. You had a future, or at least you thought you did. Then the factory closed. Just like that. One day you showed up for work and the doors were locked. No warning, no final wages, nothing. You spent the first week looking for other work. The second week, you pawned your good coat. The third week, you pawned everything else. And somewhere in the 4th week, you started walking toward London because someone told you there was work here. There isn't. Or if there is, it's not for you. You don't know anyone. You don't have references. Your clothes are falling apart. And every day, you look a little more like exactly what you are. Someone who's given up. The cold is the first thing you notice. It's November, and the temperature has dropped to just above freezing. Not quite cold enough to kill you outright, just cold enough to make every minute feel like an hour. Your feet are wet because your boots have holes in them, and you've been walking through puddles of something you really hope is just rainwater mixed with mud. It's not, by the way. It's rainwater mixed with horse manure, human waste, and whatever else got dumped in the street that morning. Victorian London didn't exactly have a sophisticated sewage system. People threw things out of windows. Animals died in the gutters. The Thames itself was basically an open sewer, and when the wind blew the wrong direction, you could smell it from miles away. But you're not thinking about that right now. You're thinking about the penny in your pocket. 1 penny. You earned it this afternoon holding horses outside a pub while their owners went inside to drink. It took 3 hours, your fingers are still numb, and now you have a decision to make. See, a penny can buy you a lot of things in Victorian London. A cup of coffee from a street stall, a small meat pie that's probably more gristle than meat, a few pieces of day-old bread, or it can buy you something that sounds almost impossible, a night indoors. You've heard about the penny sit-up from other people on the streets. They talk about it the way prisoners might talk about a slightly less terrible cell. It's not good, everyone agrees on that, but it's dry. It's warmer than sleeping under a bridge. And most importantly, the police won't move you on in the middle of the night. Because that's the thing nobody tells you about being homeless in Victorian England. It's actually illegal. Under the Vagrancy Act of 1824, sleeping rough on the streets without visible means of support can get you arrested. 2 weeks of hard labour in prison, breaking rocks or picking apart old rope until your fingers bleed. The police don't always enforce it. Sometimes they look the other way. But they can enforce it whenever they want, and when winter comes and the city wants the streets looking tidy, they start rounding people up. So the penny sit-up isn't just shelter, it's protection. It's proof that you have somewhere to be. It's the difference between spending the night in a room full of other desperate people and spending the next 2 weeks in a cell. The shelter is in a part of the East End that respectable Victorians call a rookery. That's their polite word for a slum. The buildings here lean against each other like drunks stumbling home from the pub. The streets are narrow enough that you could shake hands with someone across the way just by leaning out your window. Not that anyone here has windows worth opening. You find the place by following the crowd. It's not hard. By 6 in the evening, there's already a line forming outside a nondescript building with a single gas lamp flickering above the door. The flame fights against the fog, creating a dim orange halo that everyone is moving toward like moths. The people in line are mostly men. Old and young, though they all look old in the dim light, their clothes are various shades of grey and brown, layered in ways that stopped making sense a long time ago. Some are wearing 3 shirts and no coat, others have coats so patched and repatched that you can't tell what the original fabric was. Nobody's talking much. A few conversations happen in low mutters. Someone coughs. Someone else coughs back like they're communicating in some language of sickness. The fog muffles everything, turning the world into something half real. You take your place at the end of the line and wait. The man in front of you turns around. He's older than you, maybe 50, though it's hard to tell. Poverty ages people in ways that don't follow normal rules. His face is a map of broken blood vessels and sun damage, even though you suspect he hasn't seen actual sunlight in weeks. The fog doesn't leave room for sunshine. He looks at your boots, then at your coat, then at your face. First time? He asks. You nod. Thought so. You still got that look. What look? Like you think this is temporary. He turns back around before you can respond, which is probably for the best, because you don't know what you would have said anyway. The line moves slowly. People shuffle forward a few inches at a time. You can hear sounds from inside the building now. Movement, voices, the scrape of benches on stone floors. When you finally reach the door, there's a man standing there with his hand out. He's wearing something that might once have been a uniform. The Salvation Army runs this particular shelter, you've heard, and they take their work seriously, even if the conditions aren't exactly what you'd call Christian. Penny, he says. You fish the coin out of your pocket. It's warm from being pressed against your leg all day. You hand it over and he barely looks at it before dropping it into a box. No drinking, no fighting, no sleeping. You're out at 5 in the morning. No sleeping, you start to ask, but he's already looking past you to the next person in line. You're nobody. You're a penny. You're processed. Inside, the room is exactly what the Reverend George Edwards would later describe as the house of despair. And that description isn't poetic license, it's accurate. The room is large, or at least it feels large because there's nothing in it. No furniture, no decorations, no anything really. Just 4 walls, a stone floor and a ceiling that disappears into darkness above the reach of a single small oil lamp. The lamp provides just enough light to create shadows. It's like trying to illuminate a cathedral with a candle. Running down the length of the room are 4 long wooden structures. They're about 2 inches off the floor and sloped slightly upward toward the back. At first you think they're some kind of primitive bench, then you realise what they actually are. Pillows, wooden pillows. The idea is that you lie on the floor with your head on this wooden slant, and somehow that's supposed to be better than just lying flat on the stone. It's not, of course. It's terrible. But someone, at some point, decided this was the solution to a problem nobody asked them to solve. The floor is already filling up with bodies. Men are arranging themselves in rows, lying feet to feet in 2 double lines that run the length of the room. They've done this before. They know exactly how much space they're entitled to. About 6 feet by 2 feet. Enough to stretch out if you're lucky. Not enough to move without touching the person next to you. The smell hits you like a wall. Unwashed bodies. Dozens of them. 60, you'll learn later, 60 men who haven't had a proper bath in weeks, months, some of them years. Not because they don't want to, but because there's nowhere to wash. No hot water, no soap, no privacy. The only bath most of these men see is when they get arrested and sent to the casual ward of the workhouse, where they're scrubbed with something that might be soap and might be industrial cleaning fluid. But the unwashed bodies are just the base note. Layered on top is the smell of tobacco smoke. Not good tobacco, not anything you'd recognise. They're smoking something called curbstone twist, which is exactly what it sounds like. Old tobacco chews picked up off the street, dried out, and smoked again. Some of them are smoking old cigar ends. Others are smoking tea leaves. Actual tea leaves, used, dried, and rolled into something that passes for a cigarette if you squint. Then there's the breath. Foul doesn't begin to cover it. These are people who haven't seen a dentist ever. Their teeth are rotting in their heads, their gums are bleeding, their mouths are ecosystems of bacteria that science hasn't even discovered yet. And underneath all of that, there's something else, something alive, lice. You can't see them yet, but you will. They live in the seams of clothes, breeding in the warmth between fabric and skin. They bite constantly. The itch becomes background noise after a while, they say, something you stop noticing, but right now, standing at the edge of this room, you notice everything. You find a spot near the wall. That's considered prime real estate, the old man from the line tells you as he settles in nearby. Against the wall, you can lean back. You can use the brick to support yourself when sitting up becomes too exhausting. Because that's the thing about a penny sit-up. The name is literal. You're paying for the privilege of sitting, not sleeping, sitting. There are monitors walking the room, men employed by the shelter to make sure nobody lies down and stays down. If they catch you sleeping, they'll shake you awake. First time, a warning. Second time, you're out, back on the streets, back to where the police can find you. The man next to you, the one from the line, is called Silas. He volunteers this information without you asking. In places like this, names are currency. They're the only thing some people have left to give. Silas has been living on the streets for 6 years. He used to be a clerk. Good penmanship, he says. Best in his office. Then his employer died, and the son who took over wanted his own people. Just like that, Silas was out. No references, no prospects. A slow slide that he's still sliding. The trick, he says, settling against the wall, is to learn how to sleep sitting up. Takes about a week. Your body fights it at first, wants to lie down, but eventually exhaustion wins. You learn to doze with your head on your arms. 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there. It's not real sleep, mind you, but it's something. Around you, the room is settling into its nighttime rhythm. Men are eating whatever food they've managed to scrape together during the day. There's no kitchen here, no stove, just a boiler in the yard outside where you can get hot water if you brought your own container. Most people carry tin cans tucked under their coats. They pour hot water over whatever scraps they have and call it soup. The conversations are low, quiet, exhausted. You hear fragments drifting past. Someone talking about a job that didn't work out, someone else talking about a wife who left or died or maybe just stopped existing in any meaningful way, someone talking about court dates and prison sentences and casual wards. The words blend together after a while. Misery spoken in the dull, hopeless undertone of people who've stopped expecting anything to change. Every now and then, someone laughs. It's a strange sound in this place, harsh, bitter, the kind of laugh that has nothing to do with happiness. The leaden weight of exhaustion and despair, Silas says, quoting something you don't recognize, is only lifted when a man is dead drunk. He's not drunk. Neither are you. Neither are most of the people here. Alcohol costs money, and money is what nobody has. The hours pass slowly. The small oil lamp flickers. Shadows jump and dance on the walls. You try to stay awake, but your body is fighting you. Your eyelids are heavy. Your head keeps dropping forward. Every time it does, you jerk awake, terrified that one of the monitors has noticed. Around you, men are doing the same. It's a room full of people trying not to sleep in a place designed specifically to prevent sleep. There's something almost absurd about it, something that would be funny if it weren't so deeply, profoundly sad. One man near the far wall is muttering to himself, the same words over and over. You can't make them out, but the rhythm is hypnotic, a prayer maybe, or just madness. The line between the two gets blurry in places like this. Another man is scratching himself raw. His fingernails leave red trails on his forearms. The lice, Silas explains without being asked. Once they get into your clothes, you can't get them out. They breed in the seams, right next to your skin, lay eggs that hatch in a day. Within a week, you're infested. Within a month, you stop noticing. Your whole body becomes one constant itch that fades into background noise. Silas tells you stories to pass the time. He's good at stories. Maybe that's all any of them have left. He tells you about a man he knew who froze to death on the steps of a church. It was Christmas Eve, and the congregation walked past him on their way to midnight mass. Nobody stopped. The next morning he was still there, covered in frost, looking almost peaceful. He tells you about the children who sleep in the streets. Thousands of them, he says, orphans or runaways or kids whose parents simply couldn't feed them anymore. They form gangs, they pick pockets, they grow up in doorways and under bridges and in the cracks between buildings. He tells you about the crawlers, the worst off of all. Old women mostly, too weak to beg, too broken to move. They huddle on the steps of workhouses, waiting for someone to give them tea or bread, or simply acknowledge that they exist. That's where we're all headed, Silas says. In the end, if we live long enough. The night stretches on. Sometime after midnight, a fight breaks out on the other side of the room. Two men shouting at each other about something nobody can quite make out. The monitors separate them quickly. One of them is thrown out into the fog. The other is warned harshly and retreats to his spot on the floor. The room settles again. The tension fades. But you don't relax. You can't. Because you're realizing something that everyone else here already knows. This isn't a shelter. Not really. It's a waiting room, a place to sit while you wait for something to change, for a job to appear, for a relative to take you in, for the weather to warm up, for death to finally arrive. Most of these men have been waiting for years. The hours blur together. Your thoughts get fuzzy around the edges. You drift in and out of something that's not quite consciousness and not quite sleep, a grey zone where time stops meaning anything, and then, without warning, a bell rings, 5 a.m. The monitors are moving through the room, shaking people awake, telling them to get out. The night is over. The shelter needs to be cleaned, aired out, prepared for the next batch of pennies. Around you, men are struggling to their feet. Their joints creak. Their bodies protest. They've spent the night sitting on stone floors with wooden pillows, and every muscle is letting them know about it. You stand up. Your legs feel like they belong to someone else. Your back is a symphony of pain, and you're so tired that the fog outside seems almost welcoming. Silas catches your eye as you shuffle toward the door. Same time tomorrow? He asks. You don't answer. You're not sure if you can do this again. You're not sure you have a choice. Outside, the fog is still there. Waiting, the gas lamps are being extinguished one by one as dawn tries to break through the yellow haze. It's not quite managing. The sun is somewhere up there, probably, but you'd never know it. You have no money now. The penny is gone. And somewhere in the next 16 hours, you're going to have to figure out how to earn another one. because tonight the shelter will open again, and if you don't have that penny, you'll be sleeping under a bridge, or walking the streets until you collapse, or lined up outside the casual ward of the workhouse, begging for a bed in exchange for breaking rocks until your hands bleed. The people around you are already dispersing into the fog. Some are heading toward the market, hoping to find odd jobs. Some are heading toward the wealthy parts of town, where they'll beg until the police move them on. Some are heading nowhere in particular, just walking, moving, staying alive for one more day. You take a breath of cold, poisonous air, and you start walking too. The thing about Victorian London is that it never stops. Even at 5 in the morning, the streets are starting to fill up. Costermongers are setting up their stalls. Coffee sellers are firing up their braziers. The city is waking up around you, and for a moment, just a moment, you can almost pretend you're part of it. You're not, of course. You're invisible, a ghost moving through a world that has already forgotten you exist. But you're still moving, still breathing, still alive. And right now, lying in your comfortable bed with your clean sheets and your central heating, that might be hard to appreciate. The luxury of warmth, the luxury of safety, the luxury of knowing exactly where you'll sleep tomorrow night. Those weren't luxuries in Victorian London. They were miracles, and for millions of people, they were miracles that never came. But you survived the first night. The penny sit-up didn't kill you. The cold didn't take you. The despair didn't win. Not yet. Tomorrow you'll learn about the 2-penny hangover. You'll meet characters who make Silas look like an optimist. You'll discover that there are always new depths to fall to, but that's tomorrow. Tonight, right now, you made it through. 1 penny, 1 night, 1 small victory against an empire that couldn't care less whether you lived or died. And somewhere in the fog, the sun is trying to rise. The fog swallows you the moment you step outside. It's thicker now than it was last night, thicker than anything you've ever seen. The gaslights on the street corner are just orange smudges in the murk, and the people walking past you appear and disappear like ghosts. 1 second they're there, the next, gone, absorbed into the yellow nothing. Your legs don't want to work properly. 12 hours sitting on a stone floor with a wooden slant for a pillow will do that. Every joint in your body is screaming. Your back feels like someone spent the night kicking it, and the cold is already seeping through your coat and into your bones. Silas is walking beside you. He moves slowly, deliberately, like a man who learned a long time ago not to waste energy. His breath comes out in white puffs that get swallowed by the fog almost immediately. First thing, he says, is to find somewhere warm, just for a bit. Get the blood moving again. Where? He points vaguely into the murk. Bakeries. They start early. Some of them let you stand near the ovens if you don't cause trouble. Won't last long, but it's something. You follow him through streets that all look the same in the fog, narrow, crooked. The buildings lean over you like they're trying to listen to your conversation. Somewhere nearby, a church bell is ringing. 6 times, the day has officially begun. The bakery is a small place wedged between a cobbler's shop and something that might be a pawn shop. The door is propped open despite the cold, letting out waves of heat that feel almost miraculous. Inside, a large man with flour on his arms is pulling loaves out of a brick oven. He sees you hovering at the doorway and doesn't say anything, just nods once, permission granted. You and Silas shuffle inside and press yourselves against the wall, as close to the oven as you can get without being in the way. The warmth is incredible. It seeps into your frozen fingers, your aching feet, the hollow spaces in your chest where the cold had set up camp. For a few minutes you just stand there and breathe. Other people drift in, a woman with 3 children clinging to her skirt, an old man with no teeth who keeps muttering about the weather, a boy who can't be older than 8, alone, his face streaked with dirt that might be permanent. Nobody talks to each other, everyone just stands and soaks up heat like flowers turning toward the sun. The baker works around you like your furniture. He's done this before, probably does it every morning. A small kindness that costs him nothing but means everything to the people who receive it. After maybe 20 minutes, he clears his throat. Right then, off you go. No anger in his voice. Just business. He's got customers coming soon, real customers with money, and he can't have the place looking like a refugee camp when they arrive. You file out into the fog again. The cold hits you like a punch. Now what? You ask Silas. Now we work. Work in Victorian London is a flexible concept when you're homeless. It doesn't mean a job with regular hours and a wage at the end of the week. It means scrounging, hustling, finding ways to make pennies appear out of nothing. Silas has a system. He's been doing this for 6 years, and he's got it down to something almost scientific. Markets, he says as you walk. That's where you start. Covent Garden if you can get there. Billingsgate for fish. Smithfield for meat. The costermongers always need help. Carrying crates, watching their stalls while they take a piss, cleaning up the rotten stuff at the end of the day. Do they pay? Sometimes. Depends on who you ask and how you ask. Mostly you get food. A bruised apple here, a fish head there. Not money, but it fills your stomach. Your stomach. You haven't thought about it until now, but it's empty. Painfully empty. The last thing you ate was a piece of bread yesterday afternoon, and that was hours before the penny sit-up. What about holding horses, you ask? I did that yesterday. Pubs are good for that. So are the theatres if you can get close enough. The problem is competition. Everyone's doing it. You'll spend more time fighting for a spot than actually working. He's not wrong. As the morning goes on, you see what he means. The streets are full of people like you, men in tattered coats, women in threadbare shawls, children darting between legs, hands outstretched, everyone looking for the same thing, a chance, a penny, something. The fog starts to lift around mid-morning, though it never really goes away. It just gets thinner, paler, letting through a weak grey light that passes for daylight in November London. The buildings emerge from the murk like ships coming into port, tall, black with soot, windows reflecting nothing. You follow Silas to a market near Whitechapel. The place is already in full swing. Vendors shouting prices, customers haggling, the smell of fish and meat and vegetables, some of them past their best, all mixing together into something overwhelming. The costermongers work these streets like it's a battlefield. They've got their carts loaded with whatever they could buy cheap from the wholesale markets that morning. Apples with brown spots, fish that need to sell today or become cat food tomorrow, potatoes caked in mud because washing them would make them rot faster. A costermonger with a cart full of cabbages waves Silas over. "You again," the man says. He's got arms like ham hocks and a face that suggests he's seen every kind of trouble the East End has to offer. "Morning, Arthur. You want work?" "Always." Arthur jerks his thumb toward a pile of crates stacked behind his cart. "Those need moving. Stack 'em over there, neat, mind you. Don't just throw them." It takes you and Silas an hour to move the crates. The work is hard, but honest. Your back protests every lift, but there's something almost satisfying about it. Something normal. For an hour, you're just a man doing a job, not a vagrant, not a pauper, not invisible. While you work, you watch the market come alive around you. Street sellers are everywhere, each one with their own cry, their own song. A woman selling hot pies calls out in a voice that carries over the crowd. A boy with a tray of matches weaves between customers, tugging on coat sleeves. An old man sits against a wall with a tin cup, not saying anything, just waiting. When you're done, Arthur hands you each a cabbage. That's it? The words come out before you can stop them. Arthur's face hardens. You want more? Find someone else. There's 50 blokes out there who do it for nothing. Silas grabs your arm before you can say anything else. Thank you, Arthur. We appreciate it. You walk away with a cabbage. One cabbage. An hour of work, and you've got a vegetable that you can't even cook because you don't have a stove or a pot or a fire. You eat it raw, Silas says, reading your mind. Bite into it like an apple. Tastes like nothing, but it fills you up. You bite into the cabbage. He's right. It tastes like nothing, but your stomach stops hurting quite so much, and right now, that's enough. The rest of the morning is more of the same. You hold a gentleman's horse outside a coffee house for 10 minutes and get a halfpenny. You help an old woman carry her shopping basket up a flight of stairs and get a stale roll. You stand outside a church when the congregation leaves and get nothing at all, just suspicious looks and one man who threatens to call a constable. There's a constable on the corner of Commercial Street, and Silas steers you away from him without a word. The police in this part of London know the homeless by sight. They know which ones cause trouble and which ones just want to survive. But that doesn't mean they won't arrest you if they're having a bad day or if some shopkeeper complains. Keep your head down, Silas says. Don't make eye contact. Walk like you're going somewhere. The moment you look like you're loitering, you're a target. You pass a group of children huddled in an alley. The oldest can't be more than 12. They're passing around something that might be bread, tearing off pieces with dirty fingers. One of them looks up at you as you pass. His eyes are old, ancient, the eyes of someone who stopped being a child a long time ago. By noon, you have one halfpenny, half a cabbage, and a stale roll that's so hard you could probably use it as a weapon. Silas has done slightly better. A full penny and some cheese that's only a little mouldy. The afternoon's easier, he says as you find a spot to sit on some church steps. The stone is cold, but at least it's dry. People are looser with their money after they've had lunch, feeling charitable. That's when you beg. I thought begging was illegal. Everything's illegal. Being homeless is illegal. Sleeping is illegal. Existing is illegal if you're poor enough. The trick is not getting caught. He shows you how it works, not just standing with your hand out. That's amateur stuff, he says. The successful beggars have a system. First, you need a pitch. A story, something that explains why a respectable-looking person has fallen on hard times. Silas's story is that he was a clerk whose employer died. It's true, which helps. The truth is always easier to tell convincingly. Second, you need a location, somewhere with foot traffic but not too much police presence. The residential streets in the nicer neighbourhoods are good. People there have money and guilt in equal measure. Third, you need patience. Most people will walk past without looking at you. Some will look and walk faster. A few will stop. An even smaller few will actually give you something. Don't be aggressive, Silas warns. Don't follow people. Don't touch anyone. The second you look threatening, you're done. Either someone calls a constable or they beat you themselves. You spend the afternoon begging on a corner in Clerkenwell. It's humiliating in a way you weren't prepared for, standing there with your hand out while well-dressed people stream past, pretending you don't exist. Some of them actually cross the street to avoid you. Others look right through you like you're made of glass. One woman stops, middle-aged, respectable-looking, carrying a shopping basket. She looks at you for a long moment. "What happened to you?" she asks. You tell her. The factory closing, the walk to London, the penny sit-up. You keep it short, keep it simple. Try not to sound like you're making excuses. She listens. Then she reaches into her basket and pulls out an orange. "God help you," she says, and walks away. An orange. You haven't had fresh fruit in weeks. You peel it right there on the street corner, not caring who sees, and eat every segment, every bit of pulp, every string of pith. It's the most delicious thing you've ever tasted. By late afternoon, you've made another penny from begging. Combined with the halfpenny from the morning, you've got a penny and a half. Not enough for a penny sit-up and food, just enough for the sit-up alone. But Silas has another idea. You've got enough for a 2-penny hangover, he says. If you pool your money with mine. What's the difference? He grins, and it's not a pleasant expression. You get to sleep, sort of. The 2-penny hangover is in a different part of the East End, down a side street that gets narrower and darker as you walk. The buildings here are older, more decrepit. Some of them look like they might collapse if you leaned against them too hard. The shelter itself is in a basement. You go down a flight of stone steps, worn smooth by thousands of feet, and through a door that hangs crooked on its hinges. Inside, it's warmer than outside, but not by much. The room is long and low, with a ceiling so close you could touch it if you stood on tiptoe. Wooden benches run the length of both walls, and sitting on those benches are maybe 40 people, men mostly. A few women huddled together at one end. But here's the thing that catches your eye. Running from wall to wall about chest height is a rope, a thick hemp rope strung tight, suspended over the benches like a clothesline. That's what you're paying for, Silas says. You don't understand at first, then you see how the others are positioned. They're sitting on the benches, but they're leaning forward, draping their arms over the rope, resting their weight against it. Some of them are already asleep, held upright by the rope pressing into their chests. You lean on it, Silas explains. Keeps you from falling off the bench when you doze off. It's not comfortable, but you can actually sleep. Better than the sit-up. You hand over your pennies at the door and find a spot on the bench. The wood is rough and cold against your legs. The rope is rough too, scratchy against your arms as you drape yourself over it. Around you, people are settling in for the night. The smell is familiar now. Unwashed bodies, stale tobacco, the particular mustiness of clothes that have been wet and dried and wet again without ever being washed. A man to your left is already snoring, his head lolling to one side, the rope digging into his armpits. A woman across the room is crying quietly, her face buried in her arms. Next to her, an older man is mumbling something that might be a prayer or might just be the sounds that lonely people make when they've forgotten how to talk to anyone but themselves. The man who cut the rope to wake everyone this morning is different from the monitors at the penny sit-up. They call him the valet, which is a joke. A valet is supposed to help you get dressed, brush your coat, make sure you look respectable. This valet's only job is to drop you on your face at 5 in the morning. There's a trick to it, Silas says, taking the spot next to you. Don't fight the rope. Let it hold you. Relax into it. Your body figures out the rest. You try, you drape yourself over the rope and let your muscles go slack. The hemp digs into your chest, your arms. It's uncomfortable in a dozen different ways, but you're so tired, so bone-deep exhausted from walking and working and worrying and not sleeping. A young man settles onto the bench across from you. He's got a fresh bruise blooming on his cheek and a cut above his eye that's still seeping. What happened to you? Silas asks. The young man shrugs. Tried to sleep under Blackfriars Bridge. Some other blokes didn't appreciate the company. You fight back? Tried to. Didn't go well. That's the other thing about being homeless that nobody talks about. The violence. It's everywhere. People fighting over spots, over scraps, over nothing at all. The desperation turns some men into wolves. And when you've got nothing left to lose, you stop caring about the consequences of throwing a punch. Sleep comes in fragments. 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there. Every time you shift position, you wake up. Every time someone coughs or snores or cries out in their dreams, you wake up. But it's more than you got last night. It's something. The hours blur together. At some point, a fight breaks out near the door. 2 men arguing over a spot on the bench. One of them throws a punch, the other goes down. The people running the shelter drag them both outside. Nobody else reacts. This is normal. This is just another night. Sometime after midnight, a drunk stumbles in. He's got money somehow, enough to pay for a spot, but he can't figure out how the rope works. He keeps trying to lie down on the bench and sliding off. Eventually, he just curls up on the floor in the corner and nobody stops him. The woman who was crying earlier has stopped. She's asleep now, or maybe just silent. In the dim light, you can't tell the difference. You think about your life before, the factory, the room above the tailor's shop, the small pleasures you used to take for granted, a hot meal, a real bed, a door you could lock against the world, that life feels like it belonged to someone else, a character in a story you read once and can barely remember. This is your life now, ropes and benches and the smell of 60 strangers, fighting for pennies, eating raw cabbage, watching your hands turn red and cracked from the cold. And the worst part? You're one of the lucky ones. You made enough money today to be here. There are people out there right now, in the fog with nothing, sleeping in doorways, curled up under bridges, walking the streets until they collapse because the moment they stop moving, the cold starts killing them. The rope digs into your arms, your neck aches from the angle, your stomach is growling again, already forgetting the cabbage and the orange, but you're inside, you're warm, you're alive. For now, that has to be enough. Somewhere in the back of your mind, you remember what Silas told you earlier about the 4-penny coffin, the next step up, the place where you actually get to lie down flat in a wooden box shaped like the thing you might end up in if you don't make it through the winter. 4 pennies. It sounds impossible right now. A fortune, more than you made all day. But maybe tomorrow will be better. Maybe you'll find steady work. Maybe some miracle will happen. Some door will open. Some hand will reach down and pull you up. People tell themselves things like that. Silas told you. They have to. Hope is the only currency that doesn't run out. The rope creaks as someone shifts their weight. The snoring settles into a rhythm. The room grows still. And somewhere in the tangle of exhaustion and discomfort and dim, persistent fear, you find something like rest. Your arms are numb, your back is a constellation of pain, but your eyes close, and for a while the world goes away. Then, without warning, the rope goes slack. You pitch forward, nearly falling off the bench, catching yourself at the last second with hands that have gone clumsy and slow. Around you, people are jerking awake, cursing, grabbing at the air. A man at the far end of the room is holding a knife. He's just cut the rope. The whole thing sags and droops, no longer supporting anyone. 5 o'clock, he shouts. Out. Everyone out. That's how they wake you up in a 2-penny hangover. No bells, no gentle shaking. Just a knife through the rope and the sudden loss of the only thing keeping you upright. The room empties quickly. People shuffle toward the door, groaning, stretching, trying to work, feeling back into limbs that have gone dead. The fog is waiting outside. You can see it curling through the doorway, reaching in like fingers. Silas catches your eye. His face is grey with exhaustion, creased with rope marks. Same thing tomorrow? He asks. You don't know. You honestly don't know. Your body feels like it's been taken apart and put back together wrong. Your mind is fuzzy, slow, struggling to form thoughts. But you nod anyway. What else is there? Outside, the city is waking up again. Another day in Victorian London. Another 16 hours of surviving until you can afford to not quite sleep again. Your feet carry you into the fog before your brain catches up. And somewhere in the grey morning light, you start planning how to make 4 pennies, because there's a level below this and a level below that, and you've heard stories about people who kept falling until there was nowhere left to fall. You're not going to be one of them, not today anyway. 3 days pass, or maybe 4. Time gets slippery when every day looks the same. You've fallen into a rhythm now. Up at 5 when the rope drops, out into the fog, find warmth somewhere, work if you can find it, beg if you can't, scrape together enough pennies to do it all again tomorrow. Silas is still with you. He's become something like a friend, though friendship means something different out here. It means someone who won't steal your boots while you sleep, someone who'll watch your back in a crowd, someone who knows where to find hot water and doesn't mind sharing the information. Today is different, though. Today, Silas is sick. You noticed it yesterday, the cough that wouldn't stop, the way he kept shivering even when you were standing next to the bakery ovens. This morning, when the rope dropped and everyone scrambled to their feet, Silas barely moved. His face was the colour of old newspaper, and when he tried to stand, his legs buckled. "Just need a minute," he said. But a minute turned into 5, and 5 turned into the valet, threatening to throw him out bodily if he didn't move. Now you're sitting on the steps of a church in Spitalfields, and Silas is leaning against the wall like he might slide down it at any moment. His breathing sounds wrong, wet, like there's something in his lungs that shouldn't be there. "You need a doctor," you say. He laughs, which turns into a coughing fit that leaves him gasping. With what money? There must be somewhere, a hospital, a charity, something. There's the workhouse infirmary. They'll take you if you're dying. Problem is, once you go in, you might not come out. The workhouse. You've heard stories. Everyone has. The places where the desperate go when they've run out of options. Where families get split up. Husbands from wives. Parents from children. Where you trade your freedom for a bed and a bowl of gruel and the privilege of breaking rocks until your hands bleed. Is it really that bad? Silas closes his eyes. For a moment, you think he might have passed out. Then he speaks, his voice barely above a whisper. "I was in one once, years ago, before I figured out how to survive on the streets." He pauses to breathe. "They strip you naked when you arrive. Take your clothes, give you a uniform. Everyone wears the same thing. You're not a person anymore. You're a number, a mouth to feed, an inconvenience. But at least you'd be warm, fed." Fed. Another laugh that becomes a cough. "You know what they give you? Bread and gruel. Sometimes cheese if you're lucky. Never enough. Always just enough to keep you alive but hungry. Hungry enough to work. That's the point, see? They don't want you comfortable. Comfortable people don't leave." A woman walks past the church steps, well-dressed, probably heading to morning prayers. She glances at the two of you and quickens her pace. You've become invisible again, part of the scenery, something respectable people step around. "The work," Silas continues, "that's the real punishment. Picking oakum until your fingers are raw, breaking stones until your back gives out. Pointless work, work designed to break you down, not build anything up." Why pointless? Because it's supposed to be. The whole idea is that the workhouse should be worse than the worst job you could find outside. Otherwise, why would anyone leave? Why would anyone work for pennies when they could get free food and shelter? He coughs again, a long, rattling cough that seems to come from somewhere deep in his chest. So they make it hell. On purpose. They separate you from anyone you love. They dress you in rags. They feed you garbage. They work you until you can barely stand. And they call it charity. You sit with that for a while. The fog is thinner today, and you can actually see the sun, pale and distant behind the haze. It doesn't provide any warmth, but it's there. A reminder that somewhere above the smoke and the misery, the world is still turning. What about the casual ward, you ask? For people passing through? Worse. The casual ward is for vagrants, tramps, people with no parish to claim them. They let you stay one night, make you work half the next day, and then kick you out. Can't come back for a month. And they treat you like criminals the whole time. Search you, strip you, fumigate your clothes like you're carrying plague. Maybe you are. Silas looks at you. His eyes are red-rimmed, watery. Maybe I am. You help him to his feet. He's lighter than he should be. Weeks of not eating enough have whittled him down to bone and sinew and stubbornness. He leans on you as you walk, and you can feel him shaking with every step. I know a place, he says. Not the workhouse, not a shelter, a woman who sometimes helps. She's got a room, lets people rest if they're really bad off. Where? Flower and Dean Street. You've heard of Flower and Dean Street. Everyone has. It's one of the worst streets in London, the kind of place where the police travel in pairs and still get nervous, the kind of place where people disappear and nobody asks questions. Are you sure? No, but it's better than dying in a doorway. You walk slowly, Silas stopping every few minutes to catch his breath. The streets change as you go deeper into the East End. The buildings get older, more crowded. Laundry hangs between windows like sad flags. Children with bare feet run past, chasing something you can't see. Flower and Dean Street is everything you imagined and worse. The buildings lean against each other so closely that the street feels like a tunnel. The smell is overwhelming. Rotting garbage, human waste, the particular stench of poverty concentrated into a single block. The woman Silas knows lives in a basement room. You help him down a flight of stairs that are slick with something you don't want to identify, and knock on a door that's more patches than original wood. A woman opens it. She's old, maybe 60, maybe 100. Her face is a map of hard years and harder choices. She looks at Silas, looks at you, and steps aside without a word. The room is small, a fireplace with a tiny fire burning, a bed that's really just a pile of rags in the corner, a table with one leg shorter than the others, 2 chairs that don't match. Put him there, the woman says, pointing to the rag pile. You lower Silas down as gently as you can. He's barely conscious now, mumbling something you can't make out. The woman kneels beside him and puts a hand on his forehead. Fever, she says. Bad one. Been coming on for a while, I'd guess. Can you help him? She doesn't answer directly. Instead, she moves to the fireplace and starts heating water in a battered pot. I can try. No promises. He's far gone. She glances at you over her shoulder. You his friend? Something like that. Then you should probably go. Nothing you can do here. Come back tomorrow if you want to know if he made it. You hesitate. It feels wrong to leave him, but she's right. There's nothing you can do except get in the way, and staying here means you won't be out there earning the money you'll need for tonight. Thank you, you say. Don't thank me yet. Thanking's for after. You climb back up the stairs and into the dim light of Flower and Dean Street. The fog is rolling in again, thick and yellow, turning the afternoon into twilight. And now you're alone, really alone. For the first time since that first night in the penny sit-up. No Silas to show you where to go, what to do, who to avoid. Just you and the city, and the growing certainty that you need to find somewhere to sleep tonight. You start walking. No direction in mind, just moving. It's what you do when you don't know what else to do. The streets are crowded despite the fog, or maybe because of it. The fog provides cover. It hides things, transactions you're not supposed to see, people you're not supposed to notice, the whole underworld of Victorian London conducting its business in the murk. A man is selling something from a cart. Hot potatoes, he's calling out. A penny each. The smell hits you and your stomach clenches with want. But you only have 1 penny, and that penny is for tonight. You keep walking. A group of children runs past, chasing a dog that's got something in its mouth. Food, probably. They're laughing, but there's an edge to it. Competition. The dog gets away, disappearing into an alley too narrow for the kids to follow. Their laughter stops. They disperse, looking for the next opportunity. You're halfway down a side street when someone bumps into you. Hard. A man, about your height, moving fast. He mutters an apology and keeps going. It takes you 3 steps to realize your pocket feels lighter. The one penny you had left, gone. You spin around, but the fog has already swallowed him. He could be anywhere, everywhere, nowhere. The street is full of people who all look the same in this lie, and none of them are stopping to help you find a pickpocket. Silas warned you about this. First day, he told you to keep your money in your boot, not your pocket. But you were tired this morning, and you forgot, and now you've got nothing. Nothing. The word sits in your stomach like a stone. You stand there for a long moment, people flowing around you like water around a rock. Your mind is blank, empty. What do you do when you have nothing, when there's no next step, no plan, no safety net? A woman's voice cuts through the fog. You look lost. She's standing in a doorway, young, maybe your age, maybe younger. Hard to tell. She's got a shawl wrapped around her shoulders and eyes that have seen too much. Got robbed, you say. Your voice sounds strange, distant. Happens. She shrugs. This street's famous for it. They call it the worst street in London. Probably true. I had 1 penny. Just 1. Or 1 penny's not nothing. 1 penny's shelter or food. 1 penny's the difference between sleeping inside and sleeping under a bridge. She pauses. How long you been on the streets? A week, maybe more. Still counting days. That's new. She looks you up and down. You're going to need to find another penny before nightfall, or find somewhere that doesn't cost money. Is there somewhere like that? There's always somewhere. Question is whether you're willing to pay the other price. You don't ask what she means. You're not sure you want to know. She tells you her name is Mary. She's been living on Flower and Dean Street for 2 years, which in this neighbourhood makes her practically an old-timer. She knows the streets, the people, the rhythms of survival. Most people don't last that long, she says, walking beside you now. They either find a way out or they find a way down. Down's easier, most of the time. Down means giving up, stopping the fight, letting the streets take you. What does that look like? Different things. Drink for some. They spend whatever they get on gin and forget they're miserable for a few hours. Then they wake up worse than before. Do it again. Eventually their bodies give out. She pauses at a corner, checking both ways before crossing. Habit. For others, it's just stopping. They sit down somewhere and don't get back up. You've seen the crawlers probably. Old women mostly. Too tired to beg anymore, too weak to move. They just sit on steps and wait for someone to give them tea. You have seen them, huddled shapes on workhouse steps, barely distinguishable from bundles of rags. You didn't know they had a name. How do you avoid it, you ask? Going down? Mary doesn't answer for a long time. You walk in silence through streets that are getting darker as the afternoon wears on. You don't, always, she finally says. Some days you're closer to the edge than others. Some days you think about how easy it would be to just stop. But then morning comes and you're still here, and you figure if you made it through the night, you might as well see what the next day brings. That's not very hopeful. Hope's expensive. I can't afford it. There's a mission up the road, she says. Salvation Army. They'll give you soup and bread if you sit through a sermon. No money required, just your soul. She smiles, but there's no humour in it. After that, you've got options. There's a shelter on Shepherd Street that costs a penny. But sometimes they let people in free if there's room and you look pitiful enough. I thought all the shelters cost money. Or most do. But the missions are different. They want to save you. Hard to save someone who freezes to death on your doorstep. You follow her directions to the mission. It's a squat brick building with a sign that's seen better days. Inside, there's a long room with benches and a small stage at one end. A man in a uniform is standing at the front, talking about salvation and redemption and the love of God. You sit down and listen, or pretend to listen. Your mind is elsewhere, on Silas lying in that basement room, on the pickpocket who took your last penny, on the night that's coming and where you're going to spend it. The soup is thin but hot. The bread is yesterday's, maybe the day before's, but it fills the hollow in your stomach. You eat slowly, making it last, trying to remember the last time you sat at an actual table and ate an actual meal. After the sermon, after the food, you find yourself on the street again. The fog has turned everything blue-grey. Gaslights are being lit, tiny orange flames fighting against the dark. Mary was right about the Shepherd Street shelter. It's a grim little building, barely distinguishable from the tenements around it. But the door is open, and the man standing there looks at your empty pockets and your desperate face and waves you inside. "Just this once," he says. "Don't make a habit of it." Inside, it's different from the penny sit-up, different from the 2-penny hangover. The room is smaller, more crowded, and instead of benches with ropes, there are rows of wooden boxes lined up on the floor like coffins, because that's what they are. 4-penny coffins. Except tonight, you're getting in for free. Each box is about 6 feet long and 2 feet wide, just big enough for a body. There's a tarpaulin draped over each one, a rough canvas sheet that serves as both blanket and privacy screen. Inside the box, the wood is worn smooth by hundreds of bodies that came before you. You climb into one near the wall. The sides come up to about your shoulders. You lie flat on your back and pull the tarpaulin over yourself. The wood is smooth under your hands, worn down by years of use, by hundreds of bodies that lay here before you. There are grooves in it, places where fingernails scraped during restless nights, dark stains that could be anything. You try not to think about what happened to all those people, where they are now, if they made it through. The tarpaulin smells like mould and old sweat. It's rough against your face when you pull it up, but it blocks out the light, what little there is, and creates a pocket of darkness that feels almost private, almost safe, and that's when you notice the bugs. They're everywhere, crawling in the cracks of the wood, nestled in the seams of the canvas. You can feel them moving, tiny legs against your skin, and there's nowhere to go. The walls of the coffin trap you in with them. In the penny sit-up, you could shift away, move to a different spot. In the 2-penny hangover, at least you were upright. But here, in this box, you're lying down in their territory. You came to them. The man next to you sees you flinch. "First time in a coffin?" he asks. Yes, the bugs are the worst part. Well, not the worst, but bad. They bite all night. You get used to it, sort of. Your skin stops reacting after a while, just becomes background noise. Does anything help? Prayer, maybe, if you believe in that sort of thing. He shifts in his own coffin, the wood creaking. Some people say if you keep perfectly still, they leave you alone, but that's rubbish. They'll find you no matter what. Might as well get comfortable. Comfortable. That's a strong word for lying in a wooden box while insects eat you alive. But he's right about one thing. The coffin is warm. Warmer than the benches, warmer than the rope. Your body heat gets trapped by the tarpaulin, creating a pocket of air that's almost tolerable. Almost. You lie there in the dark, listening to the sounds around you, coughing, snoring, the scratch of fingernails against skin as people try to fight off the insects they'll never beat, someone crying softly like they're trying not to be heard, someone else praying the same words over and over, a rhythm that becomes meaningless after a while. The ceiling is too low to see, just darkness pressing down on you. The walls are too close, hemming you in. For a moment you feel panic rising in your throat. The box really is like a coffin. You're lying in your own grave, surrounded by the dying, waiting for your turn. But the panic passes. It has to. There's nowhere for it to go. You think about Silas, wondering if he's still alive, wondering if you'll ever see him again. He saved your life in his way, showed you how to survive when you didn't know the first thing about it, and now he's lying in a basement room on Flower and Dean Street, fighting something you can't help him fight. You think about the factory in Manchester, the life you used to have. It feels like someone else's memory now, like a book you read once and can barely remember. You think about tomorrow, another day of scrounging for pennies, another day of being invisible, another day of survival. The bugs keep biting. The man next to you starts snoring. Someone near the door is talking in their sleep, having a conversation with someone who isn't there. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, all that discomfort, all that quiet desperation, you fall asleep. Real sleep. Deep sleep. The kind you haven't had since before the factory closed. The coffin holds you, the tarpaulin covers you, the bugs feast on you, but you sleep. When morning comes, there's no rope to cut, no valet with a knife, just a bell ringing, distant and tinny, and the slow shuffle of bodies climbing out of their boxes. You sit up, your whole body itches, red welts cover your arms, your neck, anywhere the bugs could reach, but you're rested, actually rested. For the first time in a week, your mind feels clear. You climb out of the coffin and join the shuffle toward the door. There's tea and bread waiting. Actual tea, hot and strong. Actual bread, not quite stale. The price of a 4-penny coffin includes breakfast. You eat standing up, watching the other coffin dwellers file past. They look like corpses themselves. Grey skin, hollow eyes, clothes that hang off bodies too thin to fill them. But they're alive. They made it through another night, and so did you. Outside, the fog is waiting, always waiting. The city emerges from it slowly, like something surfacing from deep water. You've got no money, no plan, no Silas to guide you, but you've got daylight. You've got your health, more or less. You've got one more day to figure this out. And somewhere on Flower and Dean Street, there's a basement room where your friend might still be breathing. You start walking. The basement room on Flower and Dean Street smells like sickness. You stand at the bottom of the stairs, hesitating. The door is open a crack, letting out a thin line of light and that smell, sweat and something worse, something you don't want to name. The old woman appears in the doorway before you can knock. "He's alive," she says. "Barely. Come in if you're coming." Silas is lying where you left him, on the pile of rags in the corner. His eyes are closed, his breathing shallow. The fever has done something to his face, hollowed it out, made him look 20 years older than he did yesterday. Has he eaten anything? Broth, a little. He keeps most of it down. She's stirring something in a pot over the small fire. Fever's still high, but it hasn't gone higher. That's something. You kneel beside him. His skin is hot to the touch, dry, papery. His lips are cracked. He looks like he's already halfway gone. "Silas, it's me." His eyes flutter open. They're glassy, unfocused, but after a moment they find your face. "You came back," he says. His voice is a whisper. "Said I would." Most people don't. He tries to smile. It doesn't quite work. "How was the night?" "Got a coffin, free even. Someone at the mission took pity on me." "The bugs?" "Bad." "They're always bad." He closes his eyes again. "Give me a few days. I'll be back on my feet. We'll find work. Real work this time. I know a man who knows a man. You don't say anything. You've heard this before. Everyone on the streets knows a man who knows a man. The work never comes." The old woman hands you a cup of tea. Actual tea. Hot and strong. You don't ask where she got it or what it cost her. "He needs rest," she says. "Rest and warmth and food, things that cost money." "I know." "You got any?" "No." She nods like she expected that answer. There's work at the docks sometimes, casual labour. They take anyone who shows up early enough, pays poor, but it's something. Where? St. Catherine's. Be there before dawn. Line up with the others. If the foreman likes your face, you work. If he doesn't, you try again tomorrow. You finish the tea and stand up. Silas has drifted off again, his chest rising and falling in that shallow rhythm. "Thank you," you say, "for taking care of him. Don't thank me, pay me when you can. That's how it works down here." You climb the stairs and step out into the morning. The fog is thinner today, pale grey instead of yellow. You can actually see the sun, weak and distant, trying to burn through. St. Catherine's docks. Before dawn. You file the information away and start walking. But dawn is hours away, and you've got nothing to do until then. No money for food, no money for shelter. Just time stretching out in front of you like a road with no end. You find yourself wandering toward Whitechapel, not for any particular reason, just because your feet take you there, because the streets are familiar now in a way they weren't a week ago. You're learning the city, its shortcuts and dead ends, its safe corners and dangerous alleys, its rhythms. A man is selling roasted chestnuts from a cart on the corner of Commercial Street. The smell is incredible, sweet and smoky and warm. Your stomach clenches and you have to look away. You want one? The man is looking at you, middle-aged, weathered face, hands stained dark from handling hot coals all day. "I don't have any money." Didn't ask if you had money, asked if you want one. He holds out a chestnut, small, wrinkled, probably the last one in his cart. You take it before you can think of a reason not to. "Thank you. Don't mention it. Literally, my wife thinks I give away too much." She's probably right. He starts packing up his cart. "You looking for work?" "Always." There's a doss house on Thrall Street. The deputy there, name's Brennan, sometimes needs people to do odd jobs. Cleaning, mostly. Hauling water. Nothing glamorous, but he pays in bed and board. A doss house? Common lodging house. 4p a night gets you a bed. Real bed, not a coffin or a rope. Kitchen you can use. Roof that doesn't leak mostly. He pauses. It's not the Ritz, mind you, but it's a step up from where you've been. How does he know where you've been? You must look it. The clothes, the smell, the way you hold yourself. The streets mark you in ways you can't hide. Thrall Street, you repeat. Number 32. Tell Brennan that Eddie sent you. Won't guarantee anything, but it might help. The chestnut is still warm in your hand. You crack it open and eat it slowly, savouring each bite. It's the best thing you've tasted in days. Thrall Street is a 10-minute walk from Commercial Street. The buildings here are older, more crowded. Laundry hangs between windows. Children play in the gutters. A woman is arguing with a man in a doorway, their voices loud enough to hear from halfway down the block. Number 32 is a tall, narrow building with a lantern hanging over the door. The lantern is dark now, but you can see where the glass is smoked from use. This place has been here a while. Inside, there's a hallway that leads to a large room at the back. The room is a kitchen, sort of. A massive fireplace dominates one wall, with a fire burning low in the grate. Tables and benches fill the rest of the space. A few people are sitting around, eating, talking, playing cards. This is different from the shelters. You can feel it immediately. Those places were way stations, somewhere to survive the night and move on. This place has a sense of permanence. People live here. They have regular spots at the tables, regular places in the kitchen. It's a community of sorts. A woman is cooking something on a pan over the fire. Bacon by the smell of it. She's got her own pan, her own fork, her own little space carved out of the communal chaos. Nobody bothers her. Nobody tries to take her spot. There are rules here, unwritten but understood. Another man is sitting in the corner, mending a shirt with a needle that's clearly seen better days. His fingers move quickly, practiced. He's done this before, probably hundreds of times. The shirt is more patches than original fabric now, but he keeps working at it because what else is he going to do? A man behind a counter looks up when you enter. He's got a face like a bulldog and arms that suggest he doesn't need help removing troublemakers. Looking for something? Brennan, Eddie sent me, said you might have work. The bulldog face doesn't change expression. Eddie talks too much. What can you do? Anything. Carry things, clean, whatever you need. Can you read? The question surprises you. Yes. Right? Yes. Most of the people who come through here can't do either. That makes you valuable. He scratches his chin, thinking. Come back tomorrow morning. Early. I might have something for you. I don't have anywhere to stay tonight. He looks at you for a long moment, sizing you up, deciding something. Kitchen's open all night, fire's always burning. You can sit there until morning. Don't cause trouble. Don't steal anything. Don't bother the paying customers. Thank you. Don't thank me. You're not getting a bed. You're getting a warm place to sit. There's a difference. There is a difference. You know that now. The hierarchy of homelessness has levels you didn't know existed when you started. At the bottom, sleeping on the streets, exposed to weather and police and anyone who wants to hurt you. Then the penny situp, where you can't even close your eyes without someone shaking you awake. Then the 2-penny hangover, leaning on a rope like a scarecrow, dropping when they cut you loose at dawn. Then the 4-penny coffin, lying flat in a wooden box while bugs crawl over your skin. And above all of them, the common lodging house, a real bed, a kitchen, a place to exist as something other than a victim. 4pence a night sounds like a fortune right now, but it's the goal, the thing to work toward. You find a spot at one of the tables, away from the fire but close enough to feel its warmth. The room fills up as the evening goes on, men and women drifting in from the streets, paying their 4pence, heading upstairs to the dormitories. Some of them eat first, others just collapse into bed. The conversations around you are different from the shelters too. In the penny sit-up, people talked about survival, where to find food, where to avoid police, the basic mechanics of not dying. Here, people talk about life, gossip about neighbours, complaints about work, stories that have nothing to do with homelessness. A woman sits down across from you. She's older, maybe 50, with grey hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her clothes are worn but clean, respectable almost. New here? She asks. Just for tonight. Brennan's letting me sit in the kitchen. Brennan's softer than he looks. Don't tell him I said that. She pulls out a piece of bread and starts eating. What's your story? Everyone wants to know your story. It's currency down here. The way you explain yourself, the reason you give for being where you are. You tell her the short version. Factory closed, walked to London, fell through the cracks. She nods like she's heard it before. Probably has. I was a seamstress, she says. 30 years, same shop. Then the owner died and his son sold the building. New owners didn't want seamstresses, wanted the space for something else. Storage, I think, or maybe just empty. She shrugs. Doesn't matter. Point is, I was out. Too old to find another position. Too proud to go to the workhouse. So here I am. How long? 3 years. 3 years. The number hits you like a punch. She's been living in this doss house for 3 years. This is her life now, not temporary, not a phase, just life. Do you ever think about getting out? She laughs. Not bitter exactly, just tired. Getting out to where? I've got no family, no savings, no skills anyone wants anymore. This is getting out. This is the best it gets for people like me. You don't know what to say to that, so you don't say anything. The fire crackles. The room fills with warmth and voices and the smell of cooking food. Someone is frying something on a pan over the flames. Someone else is brewing tea. The lodging house kitchen is like a tiny village, everyone doing their own thing, but somehow part of the same whole. A young man sits down next to you. Younger than you, maybe 18 or 19. He's got quick eyes and quicker hands. You notice because you've learned to notice. "You're the one Eddie sent," he says. It's not a question. Word travels fast. Not much else to do around here but talk. He grins. "I'm Will. I do odd jobs for Brennan sometimes. He's probably going to put you to work with me tomorrow." "Doing what?" "Depends on the day. Sometimes we haul coal. Sometimes we scrub floors. Sometimes we run messages for people who can't read." He shrugs. "It's not glamorous, but it pays." "How much?" "Bed and board, usually. Sometimes a few pennies extra if the job's particularly nasty." He leans back on the bench. "Better than the streets, though. Better than begging." "You've done both?" "Everyone here's done both. That's how you end up here. You fall all the way down, and then you start climbing back up. This is the first rung." "The first rung. You like that? It implies there are more rungs above, a ladder that goes somewhere. What's the second rung?" Will thinks about it. "Steady work, I guess. Something regular. Once you've got regular money coming in, you can start saving. Once you've got savings, you can get a room of your own. Once you've got a room, you can get better work, and so on." "Has anyone actually done it? Climbed the whole ladder?" "Some. Not many. Most people get stuck somewhere along the way, but some make it." He pauses. "I'm going to make it. I've decided. I'm not dying in a place like this." There's something in his voice, not hope exactly, determination, a refusal to accept that this is all there is. You understand that feeling? You felt it yourself, standing outside the factory in Manchester, watching the doors close. The world had decided you were finished. You decided the world was wrong. The night passes slowly. People come and go. The fire burns down and gets built back up. You doze in your seat, not really sleeping, but not really awake either. That grey zone you've become familiar with. Sometime after midnight, a man comes in from the cold. He's shaking, wet from rain you didn't hear fall. He pays his fourpence and disappears upstairs without a word. A few minutes later, another man follows. Then a woman with a child sleeping in her arms. They keep coming. The lodging house never closes. People arrive at all hours, whenever they can scrape together the money, whenever they've run out of other options. The door stays open, and Brennan or someone like him is always there to take their pennies. Around 3 a.m, the kitchen empties out. Most people have gone to bed. A few stragglers remain. Old men playing cards by candlelight. A woman knitting something that might be a scarf. The fire has burned low, casting long shadows across the floor. An old man at the card table catches your eye. "Can't sleep? Don't have a bed." "Ah, one of Brennan's charity cases." He doesn't say it meanly, just stating a fact. He does that sometimes, lets people work their way in. Good man, Brennan, better than most. "How long have you been here? This place? 12 years, give or take?" He plays a card, studies the board. "Had a wife once. Kids. A whole life. Then I didn't. Drink, mostly. My own fault." He shrugs. "This is where I landed. Could be worse." "Could it?" "Oh yes, much worse. I've seen worse. Hell, I've been worse." He looks up from his cards. "You're new to this. Still got that look in your eyes. The one that says you think you're going to get out. You don't think I will?" "Didn't say that. Just said you've got the look. Keep it as long as you can. It's the only thing that'll save you." You think about Silas lying in that basement room on Flower and Dean Street. You think about Mary, who told you about the crawlers and then disappeared back into the fog. You think about the factory, the room above the tailor's shop, the life you used to have. It all feels very far away now. Like looking at something through the wrong end of a telescope. small and distant and impossible to reach, but you're still here, still breathing, still thinking about tomorrow. That has to count for something. When dawn comes, you're already on your feet. Brennan appears behind the counter, looking like he never went to sleep. "You're still here," he says. "You said to come back early." "I did." He studies you for a moment. "All right, there's a coal delivery coming this morning. Help Will unload it. Stack it in the cellar. After that, there's floors to scrub and water to haul. You do all that, you get a bed tonight and breakfast tomorrow. Sound fair?" It sounds more than fair. It sounds like a miracle. Yes. Good. Will's out back. Try not to break anything. The work is hard. Harder than anything you've done since you left Manchester. The coal is heavy and black, and by the time you've finished unloading the cart, you're covered in dust from head to toe. Your arms ache. Your back screams. But you keep going. Will works beside you, matching you load for load. He doesn't complain, doesn't slow down, doesn't seem to notice the weight. His movements are efficient, practiced. He's done this before, maybe hundreds of times. "Trick is to use your legs," he says when he catches you struggling. "Not your back. Your back'll give out. Legs are stronger. You adjust your technique. It helps a little." The coal cart driver watches from his seat, smoking a pipe, not offering to help. That's not his job. His job is to deliver the coal. What happens after that is someone else's problem. "You're not from London," Will says between loads. "Manchester. Long walk. Seemed like a good idea at the time." He laughs. Short, sharp. Always does. "I came from Birmingham myself 3 years ago. Thought London would have more opportunities." He heaves another bag onto his shoulder. "It does, I suppose. More opportunities to starve anyway. By midday, the coal is stacked and you've moved on to floors. The lodging house has 3 stories and every floor needs scrubbing. The water is cold, the brushes are stiff, and your knees are raw within the first hour. The dormitories smell like sleep and sweat and the particular mustiness of bodies that don't get washed as often as they should. You try not to look at the beds too closely. Some of them have stains you don't want to think about. Others have blankets so thin they're almost transparent. But they're beds, real beds. And tonight, one of them will be yours." Will works on the floor beside you, his brush moving in rhythmic strokes. "There's a trick to this too," he says. "Don't scrub in circles. Go back and forth with the grain of the wood. Gets the dirt out faster. You adjust your technique again. The floor starts to look cleaner." "How long have you been doing this?" you ask. "Working for Brennan? About 8 months. Before that, I was in the coffins, like you. Before that, I was under a bridge with a piece of canvas for a roof." He shrugs. "You work your way up. That's the only way out. What's next for you?" "I've got my eye on a job at the docks. Regular work, proper wages. A man I know says he can get me in if I show up at the right time and talk to the right foreman." He pauses his scrubbing. "Another month of saving, maybe 2, and I'll have enough to get a room of my own. A real room with a door that locks. A door that locks." You never thought about that before. Never considered it a luxury, but out here, a door that locks means safety, privacy, the ability to sleep without one eye open. But you keep going, because this is work, real work, not begging for pennies, not holding horses outside pubs, not sitting through sermons for watery soup. This is labour that produces results. When you scrub a floor, it gets clean. When you haul water, the buckets get filled. There's a satisfaction in that, a simplicity you didn't know you missed. By evening, you're exhausted in a way you haven't been since you arrived in London. Not the desperate exhaustion of the streets, the kind that comes from cold and hunger and fear. This is the exhaustion of work well done, of muscles used for their intended purpose. Brennan inspects your work without comment, then he nods. "Bed's upstairs, 3rd floor, 2nd door on the left. Breakfast is at 6. You climb the stairs on legs that don't want to bend anymore. The dormitory is a long room with rows of beds, real beds, with frames and mattresses and blankets. Some of them are already occupied, some are empty. You find the one Brennan indicated and lower yourself onto it. The mattress is thin, stuffed with straw or something like it. The blanket smells like it's been used by 100 people before you. The pillow is lumpy, shapeless. It's the most comfortable thing you've ever felt. You lie there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the dormitory, breathing, snoring, the creak of bed frames as people shift in their sleep. Normal sounds, human sounds. This is what you were working toward. This moment, a bed, a roof, a place to exist that doesn't require you to sit upright all night or lean on a rope or lie in a box with bugs. You did it. One day of work and you did it. Tomorrow there will be more work, more coal, more floors, more hauling. Your body will hurt and you'll be tired and you'll wonder if this is really better than the alternative. But right now, in this moment, lying on a real bed for the first time in over a week, you know it is. You close your eyes, and for the first time since the factory closed, you sleep without dreaming. You wake to the sound of a bell. For a moment, you don't know where you are. The ceiling is wrong. The smell is wrong. There's no cold stone, no wooden slats pressing into your spine, no rope cutting into your chest. Then you remember the lodging house, the bed, the work. The bell rings again. Someone downstairs is shouting about breakfast. Your body protests when you try to move. Every muscle has stiffened overnight, locked into place by yesterday's labour. Your shoulders feel like someone's been beating them with a stick. Your knees are raw from scrubbing floors. Your hands are cracked and sore. But you're rested. Actually rested. And that makes all the difference. The dormitory is emptying out around you, men shuffling toward the stairs, some still half asleep, others already dressed and ready. Nobody talks much. Morning isn't a time for conversation here. Breakfast is bread and tea. That's it. The bread is a day old, maybe two, crusty on the outside, but still soft enough to eat. The tea is weak, more water than anything else, but it's hot. You drink it slowly, letting it warm you from the inside. Will slides onto the bench across from you. "Survived your first night," he says. "Was that in doubt?" Always is. Some people can't handle the dormitories. Too many bodies, too much noise. They'd rather be outside where it's quiet. He shrugs. "Takes all kinds." Brennan appears at the counter. "Same as yesterday," he says, looking at you. "Coal's coming at 7. After that, I need someone to run messages." "I can do that." "Good. Will knows the routes." The cold is easier today. Your body has started to remember what work feels like. The muscles still ache, but they move more smoothly now, falling into rhythms they haven't used in weeks. After the coal, Will takes you out into the streets. "Messages first," he says. Brennan does this thing where he helps people who can't read. They come to him with letters. He reads them, writes responses, then someone's got to deliver them. People pay for that. A penny here and there. It adds up. He hands you a folded piece of paper. This one goes to Stepney, woman named Mrs. Corbin, green door, second house from the corner on Jamaica Street. You take the paper. It feels strange in your hand, official almost, like you're part of something. The walk to Stepney takes about an hour. The streets are busy, carts and carriages and people going about their business. You notice things you didn't notice before, the way shop owners sweep their doorsteps, the smell of bread from a bakery, the sound of children laughing somewhere out of sight. A man is selling meat pies from a cart. The smell makes your stomach clench. You've got no money for pies, not yet, but maybe someday. That's the thing about having work, about having a purpose. It makes you think about someday. You pass a church with its doors open. Inside, you can hear singing. A hymn, probably. You don't go in. Churches make you uncomfortable now. Too many memories of sitting through sermons, waiting for the soup that came after. the price of charity. At the corner of Mile End Road, there's a crowd gathered around something. A fight, you think at first, but no, it's a man with a monkey on a chain. The monkey is doing tricks, dancing, picking up coins from the ground. People are laughing, throwing pennies. You watch for a moment. The monkey's eyes are sad, old somehow, like it's seen too much and wants to be somewhere else. You know that feeling. London is different when you're not desperate, when you've got a destination, a purpose, a reason to be walking. People don't look through you the same way. You're not invisible anymore. Jamaica Street is narrow, houses packed together like teeth in a crowded mouth. The green door is easy to find. You knock twice and wait. Mrs. Corbin is a thin woman with grey hair and hands that shake when she takes the letter. Her eyes are rheumy, watering in the cold. She's wrapped in at least 3 shawls, layered on top of each other like she can never quite get warm. "From my daughter," she says, mostly to herself. She's in service up north, can't write herself, but she pays someone to do it for her. She reads the letter slowly, lips moving with each word. Her face changes as she reads, smiling, then worried, then smiling again. You can track the letter's contents just by watching her expressions. "She's well," Mrs. Corbin says when she finishes. "Tired, but well. The family she works for, they're not cruel. That's something." She looks up at you. "Do you have children?" "No." "Don't. They break your heart. Even when they're good, they break your heart." She folds the letter carefully like it's made of gold. "Tell Mr. Brennan I'll have a response by tomorrow. And tell him," she pauses, "tell him thank you for everything. He doesn't charge me, you know. Says I've given enough to this city. I don't know what he means by that, but I'm grateful." You walk back to the lodging house feeling lighter than you have in days. The monkey man is gone when you pass the corner again. The church doors are closed, but the pie cellar is still there, and the smell is still incredible. That afternoon, you go to check on Silas. The fog is thin today, almost pleasant. Flower and Dean Street looks different in the pale sunlight. Still dirty, still crowded, still smelling of things you'd rather not think about, but less threatening somehow, less like a place where bad things happen. The old woman's basement is warm. A fire is burning in the grate, small but steady. Silas is sitting up, propped against the wall, a blanket wrapped around his shoulders. "You're alive," you say. Disappointed? Relieved. He laughs, which turns into a cough, which turns into a wheeze. But when it's over, he's still smiling. "Getting better," he says, slowly. "The fever broke 2 days ago. Just got to rebuild my strength now. You look like a ghost. Feel like one too, but I'm a ghost who's breathing, and that's more than I expected a week ago." He shifts on his pile of rags. "How about you? Where have you been staying?" You tell him about the lodging house, about Brennan and Will, about the coal and the floors and the bed with the straw mattress. He listens, nodding occasionally. "That's good," he says when you're done. "That's real good. You're moving up. Most people, they hit the streets and they just keep falling. Can't stop themselves, but you found something to hold on to. I was lucky." Luck's part of it. But you've got something else too, that thing in your eyes, the thing that says you're not done yet. He coughs again, lighter this time. "Hold on to that. Don't let anyone take it from you." The old woman appears with a cup of something hot. Broth, probably. She hands it to Silas without a word. "She saved my life," Silas says after she leaves. "Don't know why. I've got nothing to pay her with. Nothing to offer, but she took me in anyway. Maybe she just wanted to help." Maybe. Or maybe she's been where I am, knows what it feels like to be dying and have someone pull you back. He sips the broth. Either way, I owe her. When I'm back on my feet, I'll find a way to pay her back. That's how it works down here. You help when you can and hope someone helps you when you can't. You stay for another hour, talking about nothing in particular. Old stories, places you've been, people you've known. It feels good. Normal, almost. Like having a friend again. When you leave, the sun is already starting to set. You walk back to the lodging house with your hands in your pockets and your head full of thoughts. The kitchen is crowded when you arrive. More people than usual clustered around the fire, talking in low voices. Something's happened. Will finds you near the door. There was a fire, he says. One of the doss houses on Dorset Street burned down last night. 3 people dead. Everyone else is looking for somewhere to sleep. You look around the kitchen, faces you don't recognise, men and women with soot on their clothes, fear in their eyes, they're clutching bags and bundles, whatever they manage to save. Brennan's letting them stay for tonight. Doesn't have room for all of them, but he's making space, putting people in the hallways, the kitchen, wherever there's floor. The lodging house is full in a way it wasn't before. Bodies everywhere. The air is thick with the smell of smoke and sweat and too many people in too small a space. You can barely move through the kitchen without stepping over someone's legs or bumping into someone's elbow. The refugees have brought everything they could carry, which isn't much. Bags stuffed with clothes, bundles of blankets. One man is clutching a clock like it's the most precious thing in the world. Maybe it is. Maybe it's the only thing he has left from before. Dinner is smaller than usual. The bread has to stretch further. The tea is even weaker than before. But nobody complains. They've seen worse tonight. A child is crying somewhere in the back of the kitchen, quiet, hiccuping sobs. Nobody goes to comfort it. Everyone is too wrapped up in their own misery. A woman sits down next to you. She's got a burn on her arm, red and blistered, wrapped in a dirty bandage. Her face is blank, the kind of blank that comes from shock. Her clothes still smell like smoke. Lost everything, she says. Not to you specifically, just saying it out loud like she needs to hear the words. 14 years in that place. Not much, but it was mine. A bed, a spot by the window, a corner where I kept my things. Now it's ash. You don't know what to say. What can you say? Sorry doesn't help. Sympathy doesn't rebuild walls. Words are cheap, and she's already learned that lesson. There's a place on Thrall Street, you offer. Brennan runs it. He's fair, might have room when things settle down. She looks at you like she's seeing you for the first time, really seeing you, not just glancing past. Thrall Street, I know it. Walked by there 1,000 times, never went in. She pauses. Thank you for saying something. Most people just look away, pretend they can't see, like if they don't acknowledge it, it isn't happening. I know how that feels. Yeah, she nods slowly. I reckon you do. The night is restless. Too many bodies, too little space. Someone cries in the corner. Someone else argues about territory, about who gets to sleep where. Brennan has to break up 2 fights before midnight. You don't sleep much. The bed is the same, but everything around it has changed. In the morning, the refugees are gone, scattered back into the streets, looking for other lodgings, other shelters, other places to exist. The kitchen is quiet again, almost peaceful, but something has shifted, a reminder of how fragile this all is, how quickly everything can disappear. Happens more often than you'd think, Will says over breakfast. Fires, floods, landlords who decide to sell, people get comfortable, start to think they're safe, and then the ground falls out from under them. How do you keep going? What else is there to do? Stop? He shakes his head. You just keep moving, keep working, keep climbing. Eventually you get high enough that falling doesn't kill you anymore. The days settle into a rhythm after that. coal in the morning, messages in the afternoon, floors when they need scrubbing, water when the buckets run dry. The work is steady, predictable, almost comforting. You visit Silas every few days. He's getting stronger. The cough is still there, but it's lighter now. Less like something that's going to kill him. He talks about getting back on his feet, finding work, paying back the old woman who saved his life. Another week, he says, maybe 2, then I'll be ready. Ready for what? Whatever comes next, that's all anyone can be ready for. The weather turns colder, not the damp, penetrating cold of before, but something sharper. Ice forms on the inside of windows. The fog is replaced by frost, delicate white patterns that cover everything by morning. The lodging house kitchen becomes even more crowded at night. People who can't afford beds come just to sit by the fire, paying a penny for the privilege. Brennan lets them. It's extra money, and it means fewer frozen bodies in the streets. You learn their faces. The old man with the missing fingers, the woman who mutters to herself constantly, trapped in some private conversation nobody else can hear, the boy, maybe 12, who comes every night with the same desperate look. The boy catches your attention more than the others. He's too young to be here, too young to be paying pennies to sit in a kitchen all night because he's got nowhere else to go. One night, you sit next to him. What's your name? He looks at you suspiciously. On the streets, questions usually mean trouble. Tom, you've got family. Tom, had, don't anymore. He says it flatly, no emotion, just fact. What happened? Mum died last winter. The cold got her. He stares at the fire. Dad left before that. Don't know where. Don't care. You recognize something in his voice, the same flatness you've heard in your own voice lately, the way you talk when feelings become too expensive to have. Where do you sleep? Wherever, he shrugs. Doorways mostly, under bridges when it rains, here when I've got a penny. What about the shelters, the ones that are free? He shakes his head. Tried that once. They make you sit through sermons, hours and hours of talking about sin and redemption, and then when they do let you sleep, you're in a room with 50 grown men who haven't bathed in months. He pauses. I'd rather freeze. You think about the penny situp, the 4-penny coffin, the wooden boxes and the rope and the monitors who shake you awake if you dare to close your eyes. You think about what it must be like to experience that as a child. I can ask Brennan, you say. See if there's any work you could do. Something small might be enough for a bed. Tom looks at you like you've spoken a foreign language. Why would you do that? Because someone did it for me. He doesn't say anything, just turns back to the fire. But the next night, he's back, and the night after that, and eventually you talk to Brennan, and Brennan talks to Tom, and somehow it works out. Sweeping floors, running small errands, helping in the kitchen, nothing big, but enough. Tom doesn't thank you, he's not the thanking type. But there's something in his eyes now that wasn't there before, something that looks a little bit like hope. You're collecting strays, Will says one evening. What do you mean? The old man, the woman with the kid, now Tom. You keep picking up people. He's not criticising, just observing. Most folks down here, they look out for themselves. That's it. You're different. Not really, just doing what someone did for me. That's what I mean. That's the different part. Winter deepens. The cold becomes a constant presence, a weight pressing down on everything. The streets are treacherous now, covered in ice that forms overnight and doesn't melt until midday. Every morning there are stories. Someone found frozen in a doorway, curled up like they were just sleeping. Someone who slipped on ice and cracked their head on the cobblestones. Someone who went to sleep and just didn't wake up. The Thames freezes over in patches. You hear stories about people walking on it, though you don't see it yourself. Other stories too. Bodies found when the ice thaws. People who tried to cross and didn't make it. The fog comes back with the cold, thicker than before. The kind that fills your lungs like water, that makes you cough until your chest aches. The doctors call it London particular. The people who live in it just call it death. The lodging house feels more like a sanctuary than ever, a warm bubble in a frozen world. Brennan keeps the fire burning high, burns through more coal than usual. Nobody complains about the extra work of hauling it down to the cellar. You've learned the rhythms now, which floorboards creak, which stairs to avoid, which corner of the dormitory gets the draft from the broken window. Small things, but they matter. They make the difference between sleep and lying awake all night shivering. You've been here almost 3 weeks now. It feels like longer. The factory in Manchester is a distant memory, something that happened to someone else. The walk to London is a blur. Even the first nights feel like they happened years ago. This is your life now. This kitchen, this dormitory, these people. It's not much, but it's something. A foundation to build on. One evening, Mary appears. You almost don't recognise her at first. She's thinner than before, her face drawn and pale. But it's her, the same quick eyes, the same careful way of moving. "You're still here," she says. "You sound surprised." "Bit, yeah." She sits down across from you. "Most people who start climbing, they fall back down within a month. You're still going. Where have you been?" "Around. Working when I can. Surviving when I can't." She glances around the kitchen. "This place is better than I expected. Heard stories about Brennan, thought he was tougher. He is tough, but fair. Fair's worth a lot." She's quiet for a moment. "I came because I need help. There's a woman, she's got 2 kids, she's sick. Really sick. Same thing your friend Silas had, maybe worse. She's been staying under the railway arches, but she won't last another week out there." "Where are the kids?" "With her. They're trying to keep her warm, but they're just kids. They don't know what they're doing." You think about Tom, about the boy who lost his mother to the cold last winter, about what happens to children when there's no one left to take care of them. "I'll talk to Brennan." Mary nods. "That's all I'm asking. Just talk to him. See if he's got room or knows someone who does." Brennan listens to the story without interrupting. When you're done, he's quiet for a long moment. "Can't take her here," he says finally. "Not if she's sick. It'll spread. I've got 40 people sleeping in the dormitories. One fever could take out half of them." "Then where?" "There's a place. Salvation Army runs it. They take in the sick, try to nurse them back to health. It's not perfect, but it's better than the railway arches." "Will they take her kids too?" Should do. They've got a program for children, teaching them trades, that sort of thing." He pauses. "It's not freedom. They'll make her pray, sit through sermons, follow rules, but it's warm and there's food and the kids will be looked after." You bring the information back to Mary. She thanks you and disappears into the night. The next morning, you find out they made it. The woman and her children. They're at the Salvation Army shelter now, out of the cold. It's a small thing, one family out of thousands, a drop in an ocean of suffering, but it matters, to them at least, and maybe that's enough. The kitchen is warm tonight, the fire is burning steady. Somewhere, someone is singing a song you almost recognise. An old tune, something from childhood. A lullaby, maybe. The kind of thing mothers sing to children who can't sleep. You sit by the flames and listen. Tom is in the corner, sweeping floors. Will is at a table, writing something with a pencil stub, his tongue sticking out in concentration. The seamstress, who's been here 3 years, is knitting in her usual spot, needles clicking in rhythm with the song. This is what survival looks like. Not fighting, not struggling, not clawing your way forward every second. Sometimes it's just being, existing, letting the warmth soak into your bones. Tomorrow there will be work, coal to carry, messages to deliver, floors to scrub. There will be problems to solve and people to help and the endless grinding effort of staying alive. But tonight, for just a few hours, you can rest. The fire crackles, the song ends and starts again. Outside, the frost is building on the windows, turning the world white and cold. In here, though, it's warm, and for now, that's enough. December comes in quiet. You only know it's December because someone mentions it. A woman in the kitchen counting days on her fingers, trying to figure out when the month ends. Christmas, she says. It's almost Christmas. Christmas feels like something from another life. The factory used to give everyone the day off. You'd spend it in your rented room, eating whatever you could afford, listening to the sounds of celebration from the street below. Not much, but something. A break from the routine. Here, there's no break. Coal still needs hauling, floors still need scrubbing. The work continues, steady as a heartbeat. But there's something different in the air. The lodging house kitchen feels warmer than usual, and not just because of the fire. People are talking more, laughing. Someone brings in a sprig of holly and pins it above the fireplace. Someone else produces a bottle of something that smells like Christmas and tastes like fire. Go easy on that, Brennan warns. I'm not cleaning up after anyone who can't hold their drink. The seamstress, whose name you've learned is Margaret, shares a story about Christmas when she was young. Her father was a craftsman. They had a goose every year and pudding and presents wrapped in brown paper. Seems like a dream now, she says. Sometimes I wonder if I made it all up. You think about your own Christmases, the ones in Manchester before everything fell apart, the ones before that when you were a child, when your mother was still alive, memories so old they've worn smooth like river stones. You can hold them, but you can't quite feel their edges anymore. Silas arrives on a Tuesday. You're hauling coal when you see him. He's standing in the doorway of the kitchen, looking around with the careful expression of someone entering unfamiliar territory. He's thinner than before, clothes hanging off him like they belong to someone else. His face has that hollowed look you've seen on too many people here, the bones too close to the surface. But he's upright, walking, breathing without that terrible wet sound in his chest. You made it, you say, setting down the coal bucket. Apparently. He coughs, but it's a normal cough now. Human, not the thing that was killing him. The old woman said I should find you, said you'd been coming to check on me every few days. How do you feel? Like someone beat me with a stick for 3 weeks straight? He manages a weak smile. But I'm breathing. That's something. More than something. He looks around the kitchen, taking it in. The fire burning in the hearth, the tables with people sitting around them, the smell of food cooking somewhere. His expression is hard to read. This is better than I expected, he says. Heard stories about doss houses, figured they'd all be the same as the shelters. Some are. This one's different. Brennan runs it fair. Brennan? The deputy. He's... You search for the right word. Tough, but honest. Doesn't cheat anyone. Doesn't throw people out for nothing. You bring him to Brennan. Explain the situation. How Silas helped you when you first arrived. How he's been recovering from the fever. Silas listens with his head down, like a child being scolded, even though nobody's scolding him. Brennan looks him over with that measuring stare of his. Can you work? Not heavy labour, not yet, but I can read, write, keep records. I was a clerk for 23 years, same firm. Something shifts in Brennan's expression. Interest, maybe. The kind of interest you show when someone offers you something you actually need. I've been needing someone to help with the books, he says. Lodgers coming and going, money in and out, supplies to track. Gets complicated. I've been doing it myself, but my handwriting's terrible and my numbers aren't much better. I can do that. I'm good with numbers. We'll try it. Room and board, same as the others. If you're useful, you stay. If not, you go. Fair? Fair. That night, Silas has the bed next to yours. The dormitory is dark, filled with the sounds of 30 people breathing, snoring, shifting in their sleep. You lie there staring at the ceiling, thinking about how different things are now from that first night in the penny sit-up. "Thank you," Silas says. His voice is barely above a whisper. "I know what you did, checking on me, asking around, making sure the old woman was taking care of me. You didn't have to. You helped me first. That first night you showed me how to survive it." That was just advice. This was more than that. He's quiet for a moment. "I thought I was done, when the fever hit. I thought, this is it. This is where it ends. 60 years of life, and this is how it finishes, coughing my lungs out in a basement. But then I kept waking up, and that old woman kept feeding me broth, and I realized I wasn't done yet." What changed? Or nothing. Everything. He sighs, a sound that carries more weight than words. "I stopped expecting things to get better, started just accepting what was. And once I stopped expecting, I stopped being disappointed. And once I stopped being disappointed, I stopped wanting to give up more." It sounds like a riddle. Maybe it is, but there's wisdom in it somewhere, buried under the exhaustion. "Get some sleep," you say. "You'll need your strength for the books tomorrow." The books. He almost laughs. "Never thought I'd miss ledgers and accounts, but right now they sound like heaven. The days grow shorter, the cold grows sharper, the frost on the windows gets thicker every morning, and by the time it melts, the light is already fading." Will gets his news on a Friday. He comes back from delivering messages with something in his eyes you've never seen before. Excitement, but more than that. Hope. The real kind. The kind that believes in itself. "The dock job," he says. "It's happening. The foreman says I can start next week. Proper wages, regular hours, enough to get a room of my own. That's good, really good. It's more than good. It's everything." He sits down on his bed, looking dazed. "I've been working toward this for 2 years. 2 years of hauling coal and scrubbing floors and saving every penny I could spare, and now it's real. What will you do with a room of your own?" "Sleep in, that's the first thing. Sleep until noon, just because I can." He laughs. "And then, I don't know, save more money, move somewhere better, maybe get married someday, have kids. Normal things normal people do. You think about what normal used to mean. The factory, the rented room, the life that seemed so small at the time, but now looks impossibly large. You'll miss this place, you say. Parts of it, the people, mostly. He looks at you. You should be next. You're smart. You work hard. Brennan likes you. Keep going and you'll get there. Get where? Wherever you're trying to go. Out, up, somewhere better than here. You think about that. Wherever you're trying to go. You're not sure you know where that is anymore. The factory in Manchester is gone. The life you had there is gone. What comes next is a blank space, waiting to be filled. I'll try, you say. That's all I can promise. Trying's enough. Trying's everything. Will's last night at the lodging house is quiet. No celebration, no ceremony. He packs his few belongings into a bundle, not much more than he arrived with, shakes hands with the people he knows, and walks out the door into the cold December night. You stand at the window and watch him go. His figure gets smaller and smaller, disappearing into the fog until there's nothing left but the empty street. Just like that. Gone. Margaret comes up beside you. Friend of yours? Something like that. He taught me things. How to work here. How to survive. And now he's moved on. Yeah, that's what's supposed to happen, you know. This place isn't meant to be forever. It's meant to be a step. You stay long enough to get your feet under you, then you climb to the next thing. What's your next thing? She smiles, but there's something sad in it. I'm 62 years old. This might be my last thing, but that's all right. There are worse places to end up. The bed next to yours is empty now. Someone else will take it soon. That's how it works. People come, people go. The lodging house remains, constant as the fog, accepting whoever needs it. Margaret moves into the empty bed. She's tired of sleeping in the women's dormitory, she says. Too many arguments, too many personalities clashing in too small a space. Nobody fights in here, she says. Everyone's too tired. She's right. The men's dormitory is quieter than you expected. After a day of hauling coal and scrubbing floors, nobody has the energy for drama. They just want to sleep, and the cold makes it worse. Every ounce of energy goes towards staying warm, staying fed, staying alive. There's nothing left over for petty squabbles. Tom has stopped sleeping in doorways. He's got a corner of the kitchen now, unofficial but tolerated. Brennan pretends not to notice, and Tom pretends not to be grateful. The boy is changing. Not quickly, not dramatically, but you can see it. He talks more now, asks questions, laughs sometimes, though he always looks surprised when it happens, like he's not sure if it's allowed. One night he sits next to you by the fire. "I've been thinking," he says. "About what?" "About what I want to be when I'm older." He stares at the flames. "I never thought about it before. Didn't seem like there was a point. And now?" "I don't know. Something. A clerk, maybe, like Mr. Silas, or a tradesman, someone who makes things." He pauses. "Someone who matters." "You already matter, Tom." He looks at you with those old eyes in his young face. "Do I?" "Yes, to me, at least, and to the people here." He doesn't say anything, but something in his expression shifts, just a little, just enough. Christmas Eve arrives with snow. You've never seen snow in London before. In Manchester it was common enough, white blankets covering the mill rooftops, muffling the sound of the machines. But here it feels like a miracle, something clean in a city that never seems to get clean. You wake to silence. That's the first thing you notice, the usual sounds of the city, the carts and the voices and the endless clatter of industry, all of it muffled, softened. When you look out the window, the world has transformed overnight. The dirt and the grime and the endless grey all disappear under a blanket of white. The rooftops look like wedding cakes. The street looks like something from a painting. Even the garbage in the gutters, the horse droppings, the puddles of questionable liquid, all of it covered over, forgiven, made new. The children in the street go mad with joy, throwing snowballs at each other, at walls, at anything that moves, building things that might be snowmen, lumpy and lopsided but enthusiastic. Their laughter echoes off the buildings like bells, like church bells, like something holy. You watch them from the kitchen window, hands wrapped around a cup of weak tea. You were a child once. You played in snow once. It's hard to remember now, but you must have. The lodging house kitchen is crowded that night. More people than usual, driven inside by the cold. Some of them are regulars, some are strangers, wandered in from the frozen streets, paying their penny just to sit by the fire. Brennan doesn't turn anyone away, not tonight. The fire is burning high, and someone has produced a bottle of something amber and strong that smells like Christmas. Brennan doesn't complain this time. Maybe it's the holiday. Maybe he's just tired of fighting. Either way, the bottle makes its way around the room, and everyone who drinks from it seems a little warmer afterward. Someone starts singing. An old song, one of those tunes that everyone knows, even if they can't remember where they learned it. The melody is simple, the words are simpler, but there's something in it that reaches deeper than words can go. Soon, the whole kitchen is singing, voices rough and soft, young and old, blending together in something that's not quite harmony, but close enough. You don't know all the words. You hum along anyway. The sound of it fills the room, bounces off the walls, wraps around you like a blanket. Silas is in the corner, going over the books. He's taken to the work like he was born for it, which he probably was. 23 years of clerking don't just disappear because you spent a few months on the streets. Tom is curled up in his corner, asleep. The singing doesn't wake him. He's learned to sleep through anything out of necessity. Margaret is knitting. She's always knitting, scarves mostly. She gives them away to people who need them, which is everyone. You think about Will, wherever he is tonight, in his new room probably, sleeping in a bed of his own, with walls of his own and a door that locks. You hope he's happy, you hope it's everything he wanted, the singing ends, someone tells a story, someone else tells a joke. The night stretches on, comfortable and warm. At some point, Brennan stands up. "You're right," he says. "I'm not one for speeches, but it's Christmas Eve, and some of you have been here a while, and I just wanted to say..." He pauses, looking uncomfortable. "You're good people, most of you, and I'm glad you're here." That's it. That's the speech. But somehow it's enough. The snow is still falling when you go to bed. The dormitory is cold, but the blankets are warm, and you've learned how to wrap yourself in a way that keeps out the draft. You think about the year you've had, the factory closing, the walk to London, the streets, the shelters, the rope and the coffin and the box and the bugs, the people you've met along the way. It's been months since you had a real life, a job, a room, a name that mattered. But you have a bed now, and work, and people who know you. It's not much, but it's more than nothing. Christmas Day passes like any other day, almost. There's work to do, and you do it. The coal still needs hauling, even on Christmas. The floors still need sweeping. Brennan doesn't believe in holidays from responsibility, but there's also something extra, a sense of occasion that hangs in the air like the smell of pine and wood smoke. Late in the afternoon, Brennan produces a goose. An actual goose, golden brown and glistening with fat, carried into the kitchen on a platter like an offering to the gods. Someone produces vegetables, carrots and potatoes, and something green that might be cabbage. Someone else has bread, real bread, not the stale stuff you usually eat, and somehow, miraculously, there's gravy. It's not enough for everyone, not nearly enough for the 40 or 50 people crammed into the kitchen, but for those who are here, who've stayed, who've become something like a family, there's enough. The goose is the best thing you've tasted in months, maybe years. Rich and fatty, the skin crispy, the meat falling off the bone. You eat slowly, savouring each bite, letting the flavour sit on your tongue before you swallow. This is what food is supposed to taste like. You'd forgotten. "Where did this come from?" you ask, gesturing at the remains of the goose. "Don't ask questions you don't want answered," Brennan says, but he's smiling, a real smile, the kind you rarely see on his bulldog face. Around you, people are eating with the same slow reverence. Nobody's talking. Nobody needs to. The food speaks for itself. After dinner, the mood shifts. The urgency of eating fades, replaced by something softer. People sit around the fire and tell stories. Not sad stories, not survival stories, but real stories. Memories of better times, things they used to do, places they used to go. It's like a dream hearing people talk about lives that sound so different from this one. Lives with houses and jobs and families. Lives that seem impossible from here but must have been real once. Margaret talks about her husband, dead 15 years now but still alive in her memory. "He was a good man," she says. "Not perfect, but good. He would have hated to see me here, but he would have understood." Silas talks about his children, grown now, scattered across the country. "I hope they're doing well," he says. "I hope they've forgotten about me." Why would you hope that? Because if they've forgotten, it means they've moved on, and moving on means they're living. That's all I ever wanted for them. Tom doesn't talk. He just listens, absorbing everything, storing it away for later. You don't talk either. What would you say? Your story's the same as everyone else's here. Loss, descent, the long, slow climb back up. but you listen, and listening is its own kind of sharing. The fire burns low. People drift off to bed, one by one. The kitchen empties out until it's just you and the embers and the sound of the building settling around you. You think about next year, where you might be, what you might be doing, the dock job that Will got. That's the model. That's the ladder. Work hard, save money, find something better. Keep climbing until you reach solid ground. It seems possible now. Not certain, but possible. And possible is more than you had a few months ago. The snow has stopped. Through the window you can see the stars, bright and cold and impossibly far away. Somewhere out there people are dying, freezing in doorways, huddling under bridges, fighting for scraps. But you're in here, warm, fed, safe, or as safe as anyone can be. You think about luck, about timing, about the strange chain of events that brought you here instead of somewhere else. The factory closing, the decision to walk to London instead of staying in Manchester, the first night at the penny situp, meeting Silas, finding Brennan. Any one of those things could have gone differently. Any one of them could have sent you down a different path to a different ending. But they didn't. They went the way they went. And here you are. The fire is almost out, just a few coals glowing red in the darkness. The kitchen is empty now, everyone else gone to bed, leaving you alone with the dying embers. You should go upstairs, you should sleep. Tomorrow will come whether you're ready for it or not. But there's something about this moment, the quiet, the stillness, the sense of being between things, between one year and the next, between the person you were and the person you're becoming. You think about Manchester, the factory, the room above the tailor's shop, the walk to London, endless days of putting one foot in front of the other, not knowing what waited at the end. You think about the first night, the penny sit-up, the wooden pillow and the monitors and the smell of 60 unwashed bodies crammed into one room. You think about leaning on that rope, too tired to stand, too scared to fall. You think about the coffin, the bugs crawling over your skin, the feeling of being buried alive. And you think about now, this kitchen, this fire, these people. It's not much, it's everything. You climb the stairs to the dormitory. The floorboards creak under your feet. Familiar sounds now. The sounds of home, such as it is. The sounds of a place that knows you, that accepts you, that has room for you. Your bed is waiting. The same lumpy mattress, the same thin blanket. But it's yours for now, and that matters more than comfort ever did. Outside, the snow has started again. You can hear it somehow. The soft hiss of flakes hitting the window, the gentle patter of a world being made new. You lie down, close your eyes. The dormitory fills with the sounds of sleep, breathing, snoring, the occasional cough or sigh. Someone talking in their dreams, words too quiet to make out. Human sounds, living sounds, the sounds of people who made it through another day, another week, another year. You're still here, still breathing, still moving forward, and tomorrow is another day. The new year comes without fanfare. No bells, no celebration, just one day ending and another beginning, the way it always does. You wake up on January 1st, 1888. In the same bed, in the same dormitory, with the same aches in your body from yesterday's work. But something feels different, not outside, not in the world, but somewhere inside you, a turning of the page, a sense that the worst is over, even if you can't say why. The snow from Christmas has melted, replaced by mud and ice. The streets are treacherous now, slick with frozen puddles that crack underfoot. Everyone walks carefully, slowly, watching where they put their feet. Brennan has you doing inventory this week, counting blankets, checking supplies, making lists of things that need replacing. It's not hard work, but it requires attention. You spend hours in the storage room, surrounded by the accumulated necessities of keeping 40 people alive through winter. The room is cramped and cold, lit by a single candle that throws dancing shadows on the walls. Shelves line every surface, packed with the things that separate survival from death out here. Blankets, stacked in careful piles, some of them patched so many times they're more thread than original fabric. Candles, dwindling faster than they should. Soap, though not much of it, a luxury most people here don't bother with. Coal, the most important thing, stacked in the cellar in neat rows that you've learned to count by weight as much as by eye. Tea, cheap and weak but hot, which is what matters. Bread, delivered every other day by a baker who probably charges Brennan too much but knows he'll always get paid. Whatever else Brennan has managed to acquire through means you don't ask about. Silas helps you with the counting. His handwriting is better than yours, cleaner, more precise. 23 years of clerking show in every stroke of his pen. He writes like someone who learned that mistakes cost money, that neatness matters, that a ledger is a kind of truth-telling. We're low on candles, he says, squinting at the shelf. Should mention it to Brennan. He knows. He always knows. Man's got eyes in the back of his head. True enough. Silas makes a note anyway. Better to tell him twice than not at all. You work in comfortable silence for a while. The storage room is cold, away from the fire, and you can see your breath in the air. But there's something peaceful about it. Just you and Silas and the quiet work of making sure things are in order. No drama, no crisis. Just counting and writing and the steady accumulation of useful information. Do you ever think about leaving? Silas asks, not looking up from his ledger. The question catches you off guard. Leaving the lodging house, leaving London, going somewhere else, starting over somewhere new. You think about it, really think, not just the reflexive no that rises up first. Sometimes, late at night, when I can't sleep, I think about going back to Manchester, finding out what happened to the people I knew there. You pause, but then I remember there's nothing to go back to. The factory's gone, the room's gone, everyone I knew has probably scattered by now. So you stay. So I stay. Silas nods slowly. I think about my children sometimes, where they are, what they're doing, whether they ever wonder what happened to their father. He sets down his pen. But then I think, what would I say to them? How would I explain where I've been, what I've become? You haven't become anything bad. Haven't I? He looks at you with those tired eyes. I was a clerk, a husband, a father. Now I'm a man who counts blankets in a doss house and considers it a good day when he gets enough to eat. You're alive. That's more than a lot of people can say. True. He picks up his pen again. True enough. The counting takes most of the morning. By the time you're done, your fingers are numb and your nose is running from the cold. But the lists are complete, neat columns of numbers that tell the story of survival in their own way. Brennan reviews the lists without comment, just nods and tucks them away in the drawer where he keeps important things. Good work, he says. Both of you. That's high praise coming from him. You take it. The afternoon brings a visitor. A man you don't recognise appears in the kitchen asking for Brennan. He's dressed better than most people here. Clean coat without patches, proper shoes with no holes, a hat that actually keeps the rain off, the look of someone who still has a life outside these walls. Who goes home at night to a house with a lock on the door and food in the cupboard. He carries a leather case under his arm. Papers, probably. Forms to fill out. The machinery of caring, reduced to ink and questions. Brennan talks to him in low voices near the counter, glancing occasionally at the rest of the room. The conversation goes on for a while. The man takes notes, nodding at whatever Brennan tells him. His pen moves quickly, practiced. After a few minutes, the man leaves, shakes Brennan's hand, tips his hat, steps out into the January cold, back to his other life. Brennan stands there for a moment, thinking. His face is hard to read. Something wrong, you ask? Or not wrong, just interesting. He looks at you. That was a man from the Charity Organisation Society. They're doing a survey, counting the homeless, trying to understand the problem, how many people, where they sleep, why they're here. Why? Government wants to know how bad things are, whether something needs to be done. There's talk of new laws, new policies, new ways of dealing with all of us. Brennan shrugs. They come around every few years, ask questions, write reports. Nothing ever changes, but they keep asking. What did you tell him? The truth. That there's more people on the streets than there were last year. More women, more children, more families who never expected to be here. That the shelters are full every night, and still there's bodies found frozen every morning when the fog clears. He pauses. That we're doing what we can, but what we can do isn't enough. Never is. He wrote it all down. Every word. Very neat handwriting. Very careful. You think about the men in the penny sit-up, lying on that bare floor with wooden pillows 2 inches off the ground, not allowed to sleep even though they'd paid their penny. The people leaning on the rope at the 2-penny hangover, waiting for it to be cut at 5 in the morning, pitching forward into the cold. The coffins, the bugs that crawled over you all night, the smell of 60 unwashed bodies that you could cut with a knife. Do you think anything will change? Brennan is quiet for a moment. Honestly, no, but I keep hoping anyway. That's the only thing that keeps you sane down here. Hope, even when it's stupid, especially when it's stupid. That night you lie awake thinking about the man from the Charity Organisation Society. Someone out there cares enough to count, to ask questions, to write reports that might sit in government offices forever or might actually lead to something. It doesn't feel like much, a drop in an ocean, but it's something. Maybe that's how change happens. Not all at once, not in grand gestures, but in small accumulations, question by question, report by report, person by person, or maybe nothing changes and you're fooling yourself. Either way, you're still here, still surviving, still hoping. The cold snap breaks in the second week of January. Not warm exactly, but the ice stops forming overnight and the air loses some of its bite. People start moving faster on the streets, no longer hunched against the wind. There's a sense of loosening, of the world unclenching its fist. Tom has been working steadily for weeks now, sweeping, running errands, helping in the kitchen. He's grown taller, or maybe he's just standing straighter. Hard to tell. One evening, he comes to you with a question. Mr. Brennan says I could learn to read, says Mr. Silas could teach me if I wanted. Do you want? He thinks about it, really thinks, the way you've seen him do when he's working through something important. I never learned before, never saw the point. What good is reading when you're sleeping in doorways? And now? Now I'm not sleeping in doorways. Now I've got a place. And Brennan says people who can read get better work, better pay. He looks at you. Is that true? It's true. Being able to read opens doors, letters, signs, contracts. You understand things other people don't. That's worth something. Will you help me? You and Mr. Silas? Of course. The lessons start the next day. Simple things at first. The alphabet, basic words. The way sounds, connect to marks on paper. Tom is a quick learner, faster than you expected. His mind is sharp, just untrained. Nobody ever bothered to teach him before. Nobody thought he was worth the effort. You sit together at one of the kitchen tables, away from the fire so there's better light. Silas has found an old primer somewhere, dog-eared and water-stained, but the letters are still clear enough. This is A, you say, pointing. Makes the sound R, or sometimes A. Tom traces the letter with his finger, memorizing its shape. His brow furrows in concentration. A, he repeats, like in apple. Exactly. Now this is B. You work through the alphabet slowly, patiently. Tom stumbles over some letters, gets others right away. By the end of the first lesson, he knows maybe half of them. By the end of the second, he knows them all. You remember your own learning. Your mother, patient and tired after a long day at the mill, sitting with you by candlelight in that cramped room in Manchester, showing you how letters worked, how sounds became words, and words became sentences, and sentences became stories. You were 6 years old. Tom is 12. He's starting late, but he's starting. A, Tom says, tracing the letter with his finger. That's the first one. That's right. And B is next, then C. Keep going. He keeps going, all the way to Z, stumbling only a few times. When he's done, there's something in his face you've never seen before. Pride, maybe, accomplishment, the look of someone who just did something they didn't think they could do. I did it, he says. You did. Can we do more tomorrow? We can do more every day. The lessons become part of the routine. After the morning work, before the evening settles in, you and Silas take turns sitting with Tom, going over letters, then words, then simple sentences. He progresses faster than you thought possible. His mind is hungry, soaking up knowledge like dry ground, soaking up rain. By the end of the second week, he's sounding out words on his own, lips moving as he works through each syllable. The concentration on his face is intense, almost painful to watch. The cat sat on the mat, he reads one evening from a scrap of newspaper Silas found. His voice is hesitant but determined. That's stupid. Why would a cat sit on a mat? It's just for practice. The words rhyme, makes them easier to remember. Still stupid, but he's smiling, that's what matters. What's a better sentence? Try this one. Silas points to another line. Sound it out. Tom leans in, squinting. The boy ran to the door. He looks up. That's better. That makes sense. Good. Now this one. They continue for another hour. By the time they're done, Tom can read a dozen simple sentences. He's exhausted, eyes drooping, but he doesn't want to stop. Tomorrow, you say. There'll be more tomorrow. Promise? Promise. Margaret watches the lessons sometimes from her spot by the fire. You're good with him, she says one evening when Tom has gone off to sweep floors. I'm just helping. That's what I mean. Most people down here, they're too busy surviving to help anyone else. You're different. Someone helped me. I'm just passing it on. That's the different part. She returns to her knitting. Don't lose that. Whatever else happens, don't lose that. February arrives with rain. Endless, relentless rain that drums on the roof and turns the streets into rivers of mud. The lodging house feels smaller somehow, everyone crammed inside, waiting for the weather to break. You've been here 3 months now. It feels like longer. It feels like always. The work continues. Coal and floors and messages and counting. The rhythm of it has become comfortable, almost pleasant. You know what to expect. You know where you fit. Silas has settled into his role as clerk. Brennan relies on him now, trusts him with the books, with the money, with things that matter. The fever seems like a distant memory, something that happened to someone else. Tom can read basic sentences now. He practices every chance he gets, sounding out words on signs, in newspapers, on the labels of packages. His favourites are the adventure stories that sometimes appear in the penny papers, pirates and treasure and faraway places. I'm going to go there someday, he says, pointing at a story about the South Seas. When I'm older, when I've got enough money. That's a good dream. You think so? You don't think it's stupid? I think dreams are the only thing that keeps us going. Without them, we're just surviving. With them, we're living. He thinks about that for a moment, then nods like he's filing it away for later. The rain finally stops in the third week of February. The sun comes out, weak but present, and the city starts to dry. People emerge from their hiding places, blinking in the light like creatures who've been underground too long. You take a walk through Whitechapel, not for any particular reason, just to move, to stretch, to remember what the world looks like outside the lodging house. The walls start to feel close after a while, even walls that keep you safe. The streets are familiar now. You know the shortcuts, the safe corners, the places to avoid after dark. You know which shops give fair prices and which ones cheat. You know which constables are kind, the ones who look the other way when they see someone sleeping in a doorway. And which ones are cruel, the ones who wake you with a kick and move you on with threats. This is your city now, not the one you imagined when you first arrived, desperate and lost and walking in circles because everything looked the same, but a city nonetheless, a place where you know things, where you have history, even if it's only a few months old. You walk past the corner where you first begged for money, past the doorway where you spent that freezing night before the shelters, past the mission where you ate soup and listened to sermons about redemption. The memories are strange, not distant exactly, but somehow separate from who you are now, like watching someone else's life through a dirty window. You pass the corner where you first met Eddie, the chestnut seller. He's there today, warming his hands over his cart, calling out to passers-by in that voice that carries half a block. "You again," he says when he sees you. "Still alive?" "Still alive." "Good. That's good." He hands you a chestnut, same as before, warm from the coals. On the house. You look like you need it. "I'm doing all right, actually. Got steady work now. A place to sleep. Food, most days. Even better." He grins, showing gaps where teeth used to be. "See? I knew you'd make it. Could tell from the first time I saw you. You've got that look." "What look?" "The stubborn one, the one that says you're not giving up no matter what, no matter how bad it gets. The ones who make it, they've all got that look. The ones who don't," he shrugs, "they've got a different look. You can see it in their eyes. The giving up, it starts there and spreads." You think about that as you walk back to the lodging house, the stubborn look. Maybe he's right. Maybe that's what kept you going through the penny sit-up and the rope and the coffin and all the rest. Stubbornness, the refusal to quit, even when quitting seemed like the only sensible option. Or maybe it was something else. Maybe it was luck, pure, stupid luck that put you in the right place at the right time. Maybe it was timing, showing up at the lodging house when Brennan happened to need someone. Maybe it was the people you met along the way. Silas showing you how to survive that first night. Mary explaining the system. Brennan giving you a chance. Maybe it was all of those things, woven together into something that looks like survival from the outside, but feels like something else from the inside, something harder to name, something that might be hope, or might just be the refusal to stop hoping. The lodging house is warm when you return, the fire is burning, the kitchen is busy, the familiar sounds of cooking and conversation fill the air. Tom is in his corner, reading. Silas is at his desk, going over the books. Margaret is knitting. Brennan is behind the counter, watching everything with those bulldog eyes. Your people, your place. You find an empty spot at one of the tables and sit down. The tea is weak, same as always. The bread is stale, same as always. But it's food, and it's warmth, and it's yours. The evening settles in around you. People come and go, stories are told, arguments break out and resolve themselves. The ordinary business of living happening all around you, as natural as breathing. You think about the man from the charity organisation Society. His neat handwriting, his careful questions, his reports that will sit in some government office somewhere, gathering dust. You think about the people he's trying to count, the thousands, the tens of thousands, sleeping in doorways and under bridges and in shelters just like this one, all of them with stories, all of them with reasons for being where they are. How do you count that? How do you put numbers on suffering? You can't. That's the answer. You can count bodies, but you can't count lives. You can count beds, but you can't count dreams. You can count pennies, but you can't count hope. The fire crackles. Someone laughs at a joke you didn't hear. The rain starts again, gentle this time, tapping on the windows like a visitor asking to come in. You finish your tea, you think about going to bed, but instead you just sit there for a while longer. Watching, listening, being part of something that exists because people decided it should exist. A community built out of necessity, held together by nothing but shared struggle and the stubborn refusal to give up. It's not much, but it's real, and right now, real is enough. The dormitory is quiet when you finally climb the stairs. Most people are already asleep, their breathing slow and steady in the darkness. You find your bed, the same lumpy mattress, the same thin blanket, but familiar now, comfortable in its way. You lie down and stare at the ceiling, the same ceiling you've stared at for 3 months now, the same cracks, the same water stains, the same patterns that your eyes trace without thinking. Somewhere outside the rain is falling, somewhere out there people are still struggling, still surviving, still waiting for something to change. But in here, it's warm. In here, it's safe. In here, you can close your eyes and let go, just for a little while. Sleep comes slowly, gently, like a friend who knows you need the rest. And when you dream of spring. Spring comes slowly to London. You notice it first in the light, the days stretching longer, the sun staying up past 5, past 6, the darkness retreating bit by bit. Then the air changes, still cold, but different, softer, like the city is exhaling after holding its breath all winter. March brings rain, but it's warm rain now, the kind that washes things clean instead of freezing them solid. The mud in the streets turns from ice to slush to something almost like earth. Green things start appearing in cracks and corners, weeds mostly, but alive. You've been at the lodging house 4 months. It doesn't feel that long. It feels like yesterday and forever at the same time. The days blur together when they're all the same, cold and flaws and messages and counting. But somewhere in that blur, you've become someone different, someone who knows things, someone who belongs. Tom can read now. Not perfectly, not quickly, but well enough. He sounds out words on signs, in newspapers, on the labels of packages that come to the lodging house. His favourites are still the adventure stories. He's moved on from the South Seas to Africa, then to the American West. Cowboys and outlaws and wide open spaces. I'm going to go there someday, he says, pointing at a story about gold miners in California. When I'm old enough, when I've saved enough money. That's far away. I know, that's the point. He looks at you with those eyes that aren't quite so old anymore. The further away, the better. Silas has become indispensable to Brennan. The books are cleaner than they've ever been, the records accurate, the money accounted for down to the last penny. Brennan talks about giving him more responsibility, maybe running the place someday, if Brennan ever decides to retire. Me? Run a doss house? Silas laughs when you mention it. I was a clerk. I sat behind a desk and wrote numbers in columns. I don't know anything about running things. You're learning. I suppose I am. He pauses. Strange, isn't it? At my age, still learning, still changing. I thought I was done with all that. Margaret finished her latest scarf last week. This one's for you. She handed it over without ceremony, just pressed it into your hands and walked away before you could say anything. It's red, or was red once, the wool faded and patched in places, but it's warm. And it's yours. You wear it every day now. A letter arrives in the second week of March. Brennan hands it to you at breakfast, his expression unreadable. The envelope is clean, the handwriting neat. Your name is on the front, spelled correctly. No return address, but the postmark says Wapping. You can't remember the last time you got a letter. Before Manchester? Maybe. Before everything. Your hands shake a little as you open it. Stupid. It's just paper, but paper can carry news, and news can change everything. Inside, there's a single page. The writing is cramped but careful, the kind of handwriting that comes from someone who learned late and practices often. You recognize it after a moment. Will. He's doing well, he writes. Better than well. The dock job turned into something more. A foreman noticed him, liked his work ethic, promoted him to supervisor of a small crew. He's got his own room now, a real room, with a window that looks out over the river. He can see the ships coming and going. He watches them sometimes in the evening and thinks about where they've been. He's saving money, thinking about the future, maybe a wife someday, maybe children, the kind of life he used to think was impossible, and he wants to know if you're interested in a job. The docks need people, he writes, good people, people who show up on time and work hard and don't cause trouble, people who can follow instructions but also think for themselves. He's talked to his foreman about you, told him about the lodging house, about the work you've been doing there. The foreman was interested. There might be something available. Not right away, but soon. A few weeks, maybe a month. No promises, but a chance. That's more than most people get. You read the letter 3 times, then you fold it carefully and put it in your pocket next to the penny you've been carrying since that first week. The penny you never spent because it felt like a talisman, like luck you couldn't afford to lose. Good news? Brennan asks, watching you from behind the counter. Maybe. I'm not sure yet. That's usually how good news works. Takes a while to figure out if it's real, if it's something you actually want or just something you think you should want. You nod, not really listening. Your mind is already somewhere else, at the docks, in a room of your own, in a future that suddenly seems less impossible than it did yesterday. You spend the rest of the day thinking about it. A job at the docks, regular wages, a room of your own. The next rung on the ladder we'll talked about all those months ago. It's everything you wanted, everything you've been working toward. So why does it feel so complicated? That evening, you sit in the kitchen and watch the fire burn. The same fire you've watched for 4 months now. The same flames, the same smoke, the same warmth spreading out into the room. Tom is in his corner, reading by candlelight. Silas is at his desk, going over the books. Margaret is knitting something new, her needles clicking in that steady rhythm. Brennan is behind the counter, watching everything with those eyes that miss nothing. Your people, your place. If you leave all of this. Not forever, maybe, but enough. The daily rhythm, the familiar faces, the sense of belonging that took so long to build. You're thinking too hard, Margaret says, not looking up from her knitting. I can hear it from here. How can you hear thinking? You get quiet in a certain way, loud quiet, if that makes sense. She glances at you. The letter, Will's letter, that's what you're thinking about. How did you know about that? Brennan told me. He tells me most things. She shrugs. Small place. News travels. What do you think I should do? She's quiet for a moment. The needles keep clicking. I think you already know what you should do. You're just scared to do it. I'm not scared. Everyone's scared. Fear's not the problem. Letting it stop you is the problem. She sets down her knitting and looks at you properly. You came here with nothing. You built something. Now you have a chance to build something more. You'd be a fool not to take it. But what about us? She smiles, but there's something sad in it. We'll be fine. We were fine before you came. We'll be fine after you go. That's how this place works. People come, people go. The ones who stay, stay. The ones who leave, leave. Neither one is wrong. It feels wrong leaving people behind. You're not leaving anyone behind. You're moving forward. There's a difference. She picks up her knitting again. Besides, it's not like you're going to the moon. The docks are 2 miles from here? You can visit. You probably will visit, knowing you. She's right, she's right. But knowing and feeling are different things. You write back to Will that night. A short letter, just a few lines. Yes, you're interested. Yes, you want to know more. Yes, you'll come to the docks when he says talk to whoever he wants you to talk to. Yes. The word feels strange on the page. Final. Like closing a door and opening another one at the same time. You give the letter to Brennan to send. He takes it without comment. But there's something in his expression. Approval, maybe. Or just understanding. The days that follow feel different. Not bad, just different. Like you're already half gone, even though you're still here. You do your work, haul your coal, scrub your floors, but part of your mind is somewhere else. At the docks, in a room of your own, in a future that's starting to feel real. Tom notices. You're leaving, aren't you? You're sitting together after one of his reading lessons. He's gotten good enough now that the lessons are more like conversations. He reads something, you talk about it, simple as that. Maybe, probably, there's a job opportunity at the docks. Like Will. He's quiet for a moment, processing. Will you forget about us? About me? The question hits harder than you expected. No, never. I promise. People say that. They don't always mean it. I mean it. You look at him, this boy who was sleeping in doorways a few months ago, who couldn't read his own name, who looked at the world with eyes that had given up hoping. You're going to be fine, Tom. You're smart. You're tough. You've got people here who care about you. And you can read now. That's worth more than you know. Because reading opens doors. Exactly. He nods slowly. Okay, I believe you. A pause. But you better visit. I will. Promise? Promise. The word means something this time. A real promise, the kind you keep. Spring settles in properly in the last week of March. The sun stays out longer, warmer. People start shedding their coats, their scarves, the layers they've been wrapped in for months. The city feels lighter somehow, less burdened. You get word from Will. The job is real. The foreman wants to meet you. Next Monday, at the docks, 7 in the morning. This is it. The next step. You spend your last few days at the lodging house trying to memorize everything. The way the light falls through the kitchen window in the afternoon. The sound of the fire crackling. The smell of weak tea and coal dust and too many bodies in too small a space. It's not beautiful. It was never beautiful, but it's home, or the closest thing to home you've had since Manchester. On Sunday night, you can't sleep. You lie in your bed, the same lumpy mattress, the same thin blanket, and stare at the ceiling, the same cracks, the same water stains. Tomorrow you might not be here. Tomorrow everything might be different. The dormitory is quiet around you. 30 people breathing, sleeping, dreaming. You've learned their rhythms over these months, the way the old man in the corner snores, the way the woman by the window talks in her sleep, the way Tom curls up tight like he's still protecting himself from the cold. You're going to miss this. All of it. Even the parts that drove you crazy. Morning comes eventually. It always does. You're up before the bell, dressed and ready. Your few belongings fit in your pockets, same as always. The comb with 3 broken teeth, the length of string, the penny, and now Margaret's scarf, red and faded and warm around your neck. The dormitory is still mostly asleep. A few people stir as you move past, but nobody speaks. Morning farewells aren't really done here. People come, people go. You're not the first, you won't be the last. Breakfast is the same as always. Bread and tea. You eat slowly, savouring it. Not because it's good, the bread is stale and the tea is weak, but because it's familiar. Because you've eaten this same breakfast 100 times in this same kitchen with these same people, and soon you won't be. The kitchen is quiet this early, a few night owls still lingering by the fire, the woman who works at the laundry about to leave for her shift, an old man you've never spoken to, nursing a cup of tea and staring at nothing. Ordinary morning, ordinary people, ordinary life, except for you. Silas catches you at the door. I heard you're going today. His voice is still rough from sleep, but his eyes are alert. He's been waiting for you. Word travels fast. Always does in a place like this. No secrets. He holds out his hand. Good luck. You've earned it. You shake his hand. His grip is stronger than it used to be, steadier. The fever seems like a lifetime ago. A different person, almost. Both of you, different people now. Thank you. You say, for everything. That first night, in the shelter, the penny sit-up, you saved my life. You saved yourself. I just pointed you in the right direction. He smiles, and for a moment you can see the clerk he used to be, the professional, the man with a desk and a view of a brick wall and a life that made sense. Now go point yourself somewhere new. What about you? Will you stay here? For now? Maybe forever. I'm too old for new adventures. He shrugs. But you're not. So go. Have the adventures I can't have anymore. Tom is waiting outside. He's supposed to be sweeping the front step. That's his morning job now, but he's just standing there, holding his broom, looking at you with those eyes that aren't quite as old as they used to be. This is it? This is it. He doesn't say anything for a moment, just stands there, the broom in his hands, the morning light catching the dust motes floating around him. I don't want you to go, he says finally, quietly, like it's a confession. I know. But I know you have to. I don't have to. I'm choosing to. There's a difference. He thinks about that. Is there? Yes. Having to means you don't have options. Choosing to means you're taking one option over another. I could stay here, I could keep doing what I'm doing, but I'm choosing to try something different because you want more. Because I want to see what's possible. You kneel down so you're at his eye level. You'll understand someday, when you're older, when you've been here long enough to know you don't have to be here forever. He doesn't say anything, just steps forward and hugs you quick and fierce, his arms tight around your neck. Then he steps back and pretends it didn't happen, wiping his face with the back of his hand. Good luck, he says. Don't forget. I won't. I promise. And visit. You said you'd visit. I will. I promise that too. Margaret waves from the window. Brennan nods from behind the counter. A small gesture, barely there, but you see it. Small gestures, huge meanings. And then you're walking. Out the door, down Thrall Street, into the city that's just waking up around you. The sun is rising, pale gold through the morning haze. The streets are coming alive, carts and carriages and people going about their business. You think about the first time you walked these streets, lost and terrified and alone, not knowing where to go, what to do, how to survive. You're not that person anymore. That person is gone, transformed by 4 months of coal and floors and lessons and community. What's left is someone stronger, someone who knows things, someone who has people. The docks are busy when you arrive, ships unloading, men shouting, cargo moving in endless streams. Will is waiting near the entrance, wearing a supervisor's coat, looking like he belongs here. "You made it," he says. "I made it." He grins. "I knew you would. Come on, there's someone you need to meet." The interview is short. The foreman looks you over, asks a few questions, checks your hands for calluses. Then he nods. "Start tomorrow, 6 sharp. Don't be late." That's it. A job, regular wages, a future. Will claps you on the shoulder. "I'll help you find a room. There's a place near here, clean, cheap, not too far from the docks. You'll like it." "Will I?" "You'll learn to." He laughs. That's how everything works, isn't it? You learn to like it, or you learn to leave it. The room is small, smaller than you expected. A bed against one wall, a chair against another, a window that looks out on a brick wall. No kitchen, no fireplace, no sitting area. Just the basics, just enough. But it's yours. The door has a lock, a real lock with a key that fits in your pocket. The bed has a mattress that doesn't shift when you sit on it. The walls are solid, no cracks, no gaps where the wind comes through. Will leaves you alone to settle in. "Take your time," he says. "I'll come back later, show you around the neighbourhood." You stand in the middle of the room and look around. This is what you were working toward. This is the next rung on the ladder. Not the top, not the end, but a step up. A real step up. It doesn't feel like victory. It doesn't feel like defeat either. It just feels like continuation, one step leading to another, the way steps always do, the way they've been doing since you left Manchester all those months ago. You sit on the bed. The mattress is firm, but gives a little under your weight. The blanket is thick wool, scratchy but warm. The pillow is actually shaped like a pillow, not a lump of straw or a wooden board. Through the window you can see a sliver of sky, grey as always in London, but with hints of blue underneath. Spring fighting its way through the clouds. You think about the journey, not the walk from Manchester, though that was long enough. The other journey, the one that started when you walked into that penny situp for the first time. The wooden pillow, 2 inches off the ground, sloping upward toward the back. Bodies lying feet to feet in double rows, the smell of 60 unwashed men, thick enough to cut with a knife. The monitors who shook you awake if you dared to close your eyes because sleeping wasn't included in the penny price. You think about the rope, the 2-penny hangover, leaning against that rough hemp all night, your chest pressed against it, your arms draped over it like you were leaning on a fence, waiting for dawn, waiting for the valet to cut the rope and send everyone pitching forward, the way your body learned to sleep standing up because it had no other choice. You think about the coffin, the 4-penny coffin, climbing into that wooden box, pulling the tarpaulin over yourself, lying there in the dark while bugs crawled across your skin, the way the walls pressed in, the way your breath echoed back at you, the way you had to remind yourself you weren't actually dead, weren't actually buried, were just trying to survive one more night. And you think about now, this room, this bed, this door that locks. The distance between there and here seems impossible, measured in pennies and ropes and coffins and floors scrubbed on your knees, measured in people, Silas and Mary and Brennan and Will and Tom and Margaret, measured in small kindnesses, a chestnut from a stranger, a scarf from a friend, a chance from someone who remembered what it was like to need one. You made it. Not all the way, not to any kind of end, because there is no end, but far enough to rest, far enough to breathe, far enough to think about tomorrow without fear. The sun is setting outside your window, the light is fading gold to orange to purple to grey. The city is settling in for the night, all those millions of people finding their places, making their peace with whatever they have. You lie down on your bed. Your bed. The words still feel strange. The mattress is comfortable, more comfortable than anything you've felt in months. Your body relaxes into it, muscle by muscle, bone by bone. The tension you've been carrying for so long starts to release, slowly, carefully, like it's not sure it's allowed. You think about Tom, reading by candlelight. about Silas going over the books, about Margaret knitting her scarves, about Brennan watching over everyone with those bulldog eyes. They're still there, still surviving, still building something out of nothing, and now you're here, building something too. The room is quiet, quieter than the dormitory ever was. No snoring, no coughing, no shuffling, just silence and the distant sounds of the city settling down for the night. Your eyes are heavy. The day has been long, full of beginnings and endings and everything in between. Tomorrow there will be work. Hard work, probably. New things to learn, new people to meet, new challenges to face, but that's tomorrow. Tonight, you rest. The blanket is warm around you. The pillow is soft beneath your head. The walls are solid, keeping out the cold, keeping in the warmth. You close your eyes. And somewhere in the darkness, between one breath and the next, you feel it. That thing you've been chasing all these months. That thing that seemed so far away, so impossible, so beyond reach. Peace, not forever. Nothing is forever. But for now, for tonight, for this moment. You're safe, you're warm, you're home. Sleep comes easy, gentle, like an old friend who's been waiting for you all along. And as you drift off, you think about all the people still out there, in the shelters, on the streets, in the doorways and under the bridges and in the places that nobody sees. They're still fighting, still surviving, still hoping for something better. You were one of them once. You might be one of them again, someday. Life doesn't promise anything, but for now, you're here, in your room, in your bed, with your door that locks and your window that shows the sky, and that's enough. That's more than enough. The night wraps around you, soft and dark and quiet. Your breathing slows, your thoughts drift, the world fades away.